is Lori Charlton. It's November 5th, 2025. Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Board of Finance. I'll call the meeting to order. Ask that we please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the members of the public who've dialed in or joined us via Zoom tonight, please know you are muted and will not be heard by most board members, and there will be no live comment until called for during the meeting. We generally welcome public comment on certain voting items, which tonight includes agenda items 3 through 12. If you are on Zoom, you can indicate now or at any time prior to public comment via the chat function that you'd like to be heard. And we ask that you please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Members of the public are encouraged to send their comments and questions in writing to the board, so you can do so via the town website by navigating to the Board of Finance page and clicking on Contact the Board. Before we jump into tonight's agenda, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege on a couple of items. First, I want to congratulate our colleagues, Shane Penley and Jim Myers, on their reelection last night. You've both been really thoughtful and constructive and valuable members of this board, and I'm very happy the voters recognize that and endorse both of you for another term. I also want to congratulate our newly elected members, Dave Rock and Bob Ellwanger, who will be sworn in a week from Monday, at which time Mary LeClaire and I will retire from this board and hopefully spend a lot of time cuddling our new grandbabies. I want to take this time to honor Mary, who is our longest serving board member, completing 4 terms on this board, which is 24 years. Mary is smart. She's a person of integrity, and her years of experience have brought a level of value to this body that I know we around this table all understand. I've served on the audit subcommittee with Mary for 6 years, and I've always found her insights and her experience to be invaluable, and I've learned a lot from her. A lot of people think Mary's quiet, and she's a little quiet at these meetings, but I've always said when you get Mary out of the board meetings and debating an issue, it's a contest to see which one of us can talk more, and that's saying something. So, but in all seriousness, Mary, I have so much admiration for what you brought to the table, for how you conduct yourself as a board member all these years, and for everything you've done for the town. And I sincerely hope you find a way to stay involved in public service, because you've been such a great asset. So thank you. John, do you have?
I do. I have a few things here.
I'll give her a hug first.
Give her a hug.
I'll miss her.
Can Mary and Lori come here? Come over here for a minute.
Excuse me?
Come on. Come over here.
Got some fruit from Stu Leonard's.
Yeah. I got a few things for both of you. First of all, I want to start with you, Lori. Thank you for your service to this board. Very impactful 6 years. In my opinion, it's been a pleasure serving with you. We are going to really miss you. Town got you these very nice plaque. It's beautiful, and I hope you hang it in a prominent place. Just to get it out.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Now you get to go last because you have been here 24 years, right?
Yeah.
You have this beautiful plaque that we got you. It's crying. Gonna really miss you, and that's for everything.
Thank you.
You and John Sullivan have one thing in common, you both served 24 years in one elected position. Something to be proud of.
All right.
Wow.
We have to pose.
Yeah.
You get a watch for 24 years?
She's to get a new car.
Just join you guys, right?
Aw.
Yeah, guys, come on up. Supposed to be a surprise.
Jeff, who?
Perfect.
Okay.
I would, kind of run the meeting for a minute. If any of the public wants to come up and say a few words, please take this time to do so. Chris, you want to say anything?
Yes, I do. I do. Don't I ever want to say anything? Thank you so much. Well, thank you. It's nice on this side. Good evening, Board of Finance. Thank you for having me here. Chris DeWitt, 289 Davis Road. Lori, congratulations. Thank you for your service to Fairfield. I met Lori on election night, the night that she won. And Jeff and Lori, I think it was at McKinley. It was raining because it always rained on election nights that I was involved in. And Lori said, if I'm fortunate enough to get elected, I want to reach out to you and have a conversation, which I thought was really, really great. And she did, and we talked, and we had a great conversation. She reached out, to Tom Flynn and everyone else, who was on the board. And that started a 6-year friendship, frankly. I really came to know Lori when we championed the purchasing policy together. So 2 some odd years of battling to get the purchasing policy that ended in 1 year of really, really intense work. I mean, intense, like meeting at the Gala Club and literally having a piece of paper and I don't like this word, I like this word, and going through the whole thing and going through the process. And what I learned about Lori Charlton in that 2 years was she's very dedicated and determined in all of her tasks. And I think she's proved that out in her 6 years, especially as chairman. So I'll keep this short. I'm getting choked up too. I really think Fairfield's a lot better since you've been here. So thank you for your service. Now, Mayor Leclerc. I served on this board for 16 years with Mary. And she was either on my right or my left that whole time. I don't know how, I was just lucky enough to have her always by my side. She started as a mentor and ended as a colleague. She was secretary of our board a couple times. She was on audit committee. I'm sure there's 100 other things that I'm forgetting about all that you served this community on this board. With Mary, we lived through Madoff. We lived through Philpile, Mary, in 3 Penfield Pavilion. We voted on all freaking 3 of them. Mary was always there. And to echo what Lori said, Mary often doesn't say much, but her actions drove a lot of things on this board behind the scenes. And one of probably the biggest was the waterfall process. We had no waterfall process. We had no process, and Mary in our caucus started talking, we need this process. We need a process. We need a process. And it came forward and Flynn championed it and we championed it through our caucus. And now it's part of the whole process. And that was because of Mary. And her reputation and her impact will be felt for a long time. Add to all that, Mary was PTA and RTM and I don't know what else, probably 100 of them.
The RTM.
We're on the RTM. Oh my gosh.
Assessment appeal.
I'm thinking of her husband. So Mary, anyway, congratulations on 24 years of service. The town can literally never repay you for everything you've done for this town. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Mary?
Oh, I just want to say a quick thank you. I don't want to keep us too long, but I want to thank this board and all the town staff and people who come to all our Board of Finance meetings for all these years and multiple boards of finances over the years. It's amazing how many wonderful people we've met and worked with. And I just want to thank them all. And for the future, I'd like to give the board a little bit of advice, and that's always do what you think is best for the town and for the residents of Fairfield. And always try to vote to make the hard decisions. It's okay to vote no and to ask more questions or push something back. And I think that's important for us to remember, especially, the board's going back to a supermajority, and we have to remember that and keep everyone's opinions and listen to everyone. And hopefully we did that in the years that the Democrats were in the minority, and hopefully that will continue. So I want to thank everyone. Thanks.
All right, well, just first, I don't want to keep us too long either, but I just want to say it's been a real honor working with all of you. It's been a privilege to be your chair. Thank you to all of you. And I just want to echo what Mary said. When I joined this board, we were in the minority. It was a 6-3 minority. And, what I realized immediately was that, I came to the board very excited and wanted to had all these ideas. But the only way to really be able to get things done in the minority was to work to develop relationships with my colleagues and hopefully try to, get to know each other as people, develop trust, and, try to give each other the grace to understand that we were all here doing our best on behalf of the town. And, as Chris said, some of those relationships turned into true friendships. And I learned a lot from everyone, Jim and I have sparred at this table, but I've learned as much from Jim as anyone. And especially during those first couple of years on the board, it was so helpful to have, all the insights and experience. You come in with all these new ideas, but nothing can replace the experience that you have after going through this time and time again. So I agree. When you are in a majority, and I hope the RTM behaves the same way, it's important not to overstep. It's important to be inclusive to everyone. I think we have a great set of new board members. They're all moderate people, all good people. And I think this board will be very successful, and I wish you the best. All right. Shall we jump into our agenda? All right. So item 3, hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution titled a resolution appropriating $2.3 million for costs associated with the Fairfield Ward High School artificial turf project, authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation. Motion to hear this item, Ms. Ruggiero, second, Mr. Curley. Okay, the backup for this item is in the posted meeting documents online. The bond resolution is on page 1. Project backup is on page 27. All right, and we have here representing Fairfield Public Schools, Jeff Peterson, Angeles Papageorge, and our superintendent, Mike Testani. Turn it over to you guys.
Well, thank you for having us, and congratulations to those of you who are staying on the board, and a bigger congratulations to those of you that are leaving. And thank you to the service as a resident of the town. I thank you for the time and efforts that you all give up with your family and special occasions and things like that to be here. Look out for the rest of us here in town. So thank you for that. As pretty self-explanatory, Fairfield Ward High School is in desperate need of an additional turf field. With the number of teams that access practices and games on a given day, it has become extremely challenging to schedule everything. With the opening of the new field over at Roger Ludlow Middle School, it's given a lot of relief to Fairfield Ludlow High School. We're just looking to try to make it a little more balanced on the other side of town with Ward. Currently, there is a grass area, but as you can imagine, especially in the springtime and late fall, with inclement weather, makes scheduling a challenge when things have to be canceled. We're going really late into the evening with the one turf field there, so this will be a great benefit if we can get this project completed and give Gina, the athletic director there, a little more flexibility and teams access. And we are lagging behind the number of turf fields in town compared to the other towns around us that we compete against. So this give us a little bit of more of a competitive nature with those folks. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Mr. George, Mr. Peterson, anything to add?
Just to add, you have your standard 14 points before you. Couple things when building this project proposal, we took into account the moratorium for infill type materials. So we did price this out using a Brock fill, which is a different fill than the existing that we have at other schools right now. We also took into account possibility of unsuitable materials. So we've included all of that into our price as we built out this project. So we don't foresee any issues with the price or getting this project completed.
Can you, I don't know if Mr. Peterson has any, can you just comment on this is a proposal for 20-year financing. Can you just comment on the expected life of the project?
Yep, so as I said, we built this project out using what's called a Brock pad system. It's an alternative padding underneath the field. And it's also it's an organic Brock fill infill. So we expect it to be at least a 20-year plus life expectancy on this field. So that's why we're saying a 20-year bond on.
And just for the board, I'll add, echoing what Mr. Testani said, this is something that our board has had conversations about for years, about how far we are lagging behind our neighbors at disadvantage that we are at in terms of our athletic teams, not being able to practice as frequently on turf where they compete when they go to other towns. So this is something that my board is very unified on and has looked forward to for some time. So I was very happy to see it.
Thank you. All right. Questions from the board? Mr. Curley?
Yeah, can you elaborate a little bit on that organic fill?
So the Brock pad system is a cushioned pad that goes underneath the new turf itself. And underneath that, it gets a rock stone base for drainage. And there's 3 different organic fills that they recommend that work well with the Brock system. One of which is what we looked at mostly, which is called a Brock fill. It's an engineered wood fiber, kind of similar to what we use on our playground now for absorbing material and making them safe, fall resistant on them. They also have another one I'm sorry, I should have said that's made mostly out of a pine wood dust material. The other ones are a geofill, which is recommended to use with the Brock pad. It's more of a coconut fiber base. And then the last one is a safe shell. So it's like seashell that comes around on the top. Those are the 3 recommended. When we built this price out, we looked at the Brock fill as the engineered way to do it, being as we're familiar with our place.
And you said this will be the first field that you're using this
Without using chrome rubber, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I would think that an organic material would actually not last as long. Is there any type of maintenance, whether it's regular maintenance or 5 or 10 year cycle to?
We absolutely do. Once this project comes out of the warranty state, it will get added to the board's routine maintenance program. So it's owned, it's tested, it's GMAX rated, so we can make sure it's a safe field for use. So we do maintain it. With the current program that we have for our other 2 fields, the maintenance program also includes any minor tears or repairs needed. There's a cleaning cycle that goes through, and that's how we get the long life Yeah, by maintaining them, sweeping them and cleaning them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. Mr. Toll?
How long's the warranty? Usually they come with a 1-year warranty, but when we go out and work on. So did you see I don't want to get a long discussion on this, but I just have a question about it. I think this might be more of an RTM issue. Fairfield Sustainability.
Sustainable Fairfield.
Fairfield sent a letter to us concerned about the environmental impact of a field like this, but it sounds like you're kind of addressing that issue by using this newer type system. Is that fair to say? When I did read that letter, I did feel that, we did address that issue. We're not using chrome rubber. We're not using chrome rubber. We've completely gone away from chrome rubber or any type of other or unnatural material. This is all natural material. To your knowledge, is this new system, I'm calling it a new system, is it being used in other areas in Fairfield County in the area? I can't speak for Fairfield County, but I can speak that nationwide, this seems to be the new approach that many colleges, universities are going. All right, and I understand that the field's primarily going to be for war. Is it going to be also available for other recreational town groups, youth group, and so on and so forth?
Similar to what we do now with our two fields, there will be access, priority access to our town nonprofit, football and those, and then after that for rental as well.
All right, thank you. Nothing else.
Mr. Meyer?
What about lights? Does this field have, or does it need lights?
This field does not have lights on it currently. What we had talked about is when we go out to bid, adding lights to the bid, add alternate based on materials and what we find. Do a little digging through materials in the field and drainage. There could be some savings there where we could offset and possibly add the lights, but the priority was not to put lights on the field.
Okay, and then, I get this question a lot, but what would you say would be like the 20-year cost savings of not having to maintain a grass field?
So off the top of my head, I couldn't give you what we're exactly saving, but we're not trimming, we're not cutting, we're not cleaning,
Not watering.
not watering,
Possibly resodding it, I mean, all those.
sodding. Every year we overseed and we aerate the grass fields every year. So there is a lot of maintenance with this. There is maintenance with an artificial turf field as well, but like I mentioned before, we have for our other two sites right now, it's a part of a program, so we pay a flat rate. It gets maintained, it gets tested, it gets cleaned, and it gets minor repairs done to it, all in the contract we have with the groomers.
I kind of would like to know if you guys could come up with a number, because these fields are gonna come up a lot, and I think it's just a good thing to.
Sure.
I think the other thing that people need to understand is that the amount of use that you will get, it's constant. It could rain.
The downtime, you don't lose
There's
the
no
next
downtime,
day,
right.
because you're gonna ruin the field.
Exactly.
I agree. I think maybe as part of the 14 points in the cost analysis, I think the cost avoidance of grass would be helpful to add. They are
We
expensive.
can come up with a number on that. It's a difficult number because
Right, because you have a.
they cover the
consolidated-
entire field, so.
I
was a
get it,
Bid
but-
based on that, so it would be a reduction, but we'd have to work through the bid process to see what the actual reduction is.
Sure,
Are we funding this with a 20-year bond?
that's the proposal.
Okay, so the math is pretty simple. At about a 4.2% borrowing rate, the interest expense on this is $100,000 a year, which is $2 million over 20 years. So I'm skeptical we spend that much on lawn care on this particular piece of property. I intend to vote no like I did the last time turf fields come up, and that's one of the main reasons why.
Can I say one thing on that?
Sure.
And I appreciate what you're saying. You can't just look at this as a money thing, because this isn't like we could have a grass field there and have it immaculate if it was being used once a week.
Correct.
That's the issue here. It's used all the time and it gets chewed up. This isn't, like, well, Giant Stadium is a bad example, but you know what I mean. A
Right.
football stadium has a grass field that all they do is play a game there once a week and that's it. They don't practice on it. I just think you can't, that's the other equation to all this. It's the constant use and the need for not only ward, but town teams to have access to something like that. And I think you could practice on it in a grass field. I think that is probably eventually more unsafe if you're having constant use than something like a turf.
There's that, and you also have to realize that because we have one turf field, that turf is getting used until the last possible hours of the evening, which means there are kids that are practicing or waiting to practice until a game is over, until 9 o'clock at night. This will help alleviate that and if we prep it for lights and it's added later on, if it's not if we're not able to do that now, that it gives us even more of an opportunity for usage.
Mr. Shark?
Same question. I mean, can we quantify how much playing time we're losing in practice time? I mean, we're a board of finance, so I think we ought to be looking at the math.
I mean, we could ask the athletic director to come up with what their schedule looks like, but I can tell you in the fall and spring months, it's a constant battle of playing musical chairs and trying to find space. Especially when there's inclement weather. If we get a bad rain day, the field's down for a couple of days. So now we're pushing everything onto the turf field.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero.
Having been involved in Fairfield youth football for 8 years, the need for something like this is incredible. And I know there's a cost factor, but there's also, a cost, it's all relative in the sense that, there's a huge benefit to our children to be able to play a game that they love and be with their peers and not on technology or other things. And I think that's a value as well. That's not measurable. And when you look at other towns, quite frankly, I think our fields are an embarrassment and they've continued to be. So, I mean, we can't compete versus Westport, Darien, Canaan. I understand those are all higher, wealthier communities, but our kids get our,
We have less turf than Bridgeport.
yes, we have the worst fields that I've seen, having traveled with the teams for 8 years. So I am 100% behind this. I'm very happy to see it on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. Mr. Penrith?
I think sorry, this is about the only thing I'm gonna say tonight. Lost my voice. But I remember when this, I guess, came up, we got some letters from folks. And I was emailing with one of the parents who had shared to me, I can send it to anyone who's interested. But practice schedule, the difficulty of coordinating, it looks pretty challenging. I was curious about it too. Honestly, the only thing that gives me reticence about this is that letter that we got from Sustainable Fairfield. That in itself doesn't really carry that much weight for me, but I am curious about it. It's not the first thing I've heard about turf fields is presenting a health risk, and I'm wondering, the material underneath it is organic, and that will prevent maybe less toxic leaching into the environment. The grass itself on top is, I think, what is supposedly dangerous to children playing on it. Is that not the case?
My understanding is it's the old
infill.
crumb fill that goes between the fibers. And that's being replaced as well with organic.
So I guess that's just my thing, just wondering how you guys go about developing a policy or an understanding of that kind of health risk. You know what? I'm gonna give up.
We got it.
So I do think we have to realize this is nature. No one plants a grass field anymore. I think if there was any health risks to children, it would have been an issue that would have been quantified at some point by experts. I think there's an assumption.
I think that those things get quantified once a lot of problems happen. I disagree with that logic.
We've had turf fields for 40 years now.
Planting grass field at your school. Sturgeon.
Not my school, that's Parks and Rec.
Okay, Parks and Rec. We plant grass.
Oh,
We plant sod. We put in a new irrigation system. It looks beautiful and it's being used constantly and it looks great. I was just driving by it the other day. I was just like, I couldn't.
It's being used by Deerfield Ludlow.
I see kids playing soccer out there.
It's not, it's, yeah, youth soccer. It's opened that up, which is fine. I mean, grass is great.
Yeah, I just want to make a brilliant statement that no one's planting grass. People are planting grass. The NFL is considering having grass at every one of their stadiums because the athletes are getting injured. So don't say that no one's considering grass.
Haven't seen any NFL teams switch over to grass.
Giant Stadium's thinking about it. The Jets and Giants players are getting injured. The players who are playing there are getting injured.
Can I follow up on your,
They are. There's a lot of talk about the turf at MetLife Stadium, how horrible it is. And a lot of athletes are, some of them are even saying they don't want to play there.
so the point about, the sustainable Fairfield letter, which I'll put into the record, with the minutes. I know everyone got it on email, but, it's not in the backup. Did raise the environmental impact. I think they also raised, unless I'm misremembering, the risk of injuries to our athletes. And I'm just wondering what our experience has been. Have we seen that at our schools? Have we seen, you're shaking your heads. We have not seen a pattern of more injuries on the turf fields? Okay, and I'm not saying, when it happens, it happens. So, but I'm just wondering, we've had,
Spoke to the trainers to see what their experience has been, knowing that this might come up as a question and
Yeah.
it's been.
that's not been a significant, okay. Yep.
Just up with. They're talking about a professional football field who's used for football games. It's maintained Monday through every day of the week, and then it's used 3-4 times a week. Whereas our grass fields are used nonstop daily, so the dirt underneath, the natural dirt underneath, getting compressed and compressed and compressed. So it's making that dirt a harder surface when kids are hitting the ground, they fall. So it's a harder field, and to offset that, we do go in and we try to aerate and we try to overseed to try to loosen and soften that top layer of dirt. Whereas a artificial turf field has an absorption system built into it, similar to our playgrounds, where they are G-Max tested and rated every year to meet the standard. And if there are spots where G-Max testing is not meeting, they're able to add infill to create that soft cushion again, maintain that cushion throughout the playing field. So it's not, we don't rest our fields like is recommended by many of our consultants, the grass fields. They tell us their fields look good, but you want them to last, you want them to be safe, you need to rest them. And we just don't have that opportunity to say, okay, nobody's using this field this week. You can't rotate and say, okay, no one's using this field this week, nobody's using this field next week. It gives us the opportunity to soften, keep them on them every day.
Just to add, Mr. Walsh, we replanted that grass at Sturgis because it was a safety hazard. So many years of bumps and settling. The athletic director at Ludlow High School pleaded that we level it, grade it, and replant it before somebody blew it.
I think it's great. I mean, I'm not saying that should.
No, I'm
I'm
just.
saying that shouldn't be done at all of our fields, or that they shouldn't be rotated and rested, just like our, Anthony Calabrese tells us he has to do on all our grass fields. He goes through that, but, how difficult it is to rest a field, but he has to do it, whatever.
He doesn't have a CIAC schedule and FCX schedule to maintain. during certain designated seasons that start and end are beyond his control or our control.
Other questions from the, oh, sorry,
That's
Mr.
here's
Walton.
a question. So this sustainable Fairfield letter actually has a date on it as of yet. You've seen it, correct?
Yeah,
It was just produced by a guy by the name of Bob Wall. It's the chair. I don't know whether they're LLC, 501, I don't know what they are, but whatever. Basically, from what you're saying, his letter's completely wrong in regards to point number 1, bullet 1, doesn't have it correct on the type of materials that are being used, correct?
correct.
He thinks chrome
rubber.
is being used, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Stop right there. Crumb rubber, EPA looked at it for many years, came out with a report saying there is no health risk with crumb rubber. in
Correct.
children. Correct?
Correct.
Has there been any EPA report on the material you're using?
That we're aware of.
Do you know if they're looking at it?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay. He says that there's a 10-year life. You just told us it's a 20-year life. Well, I'm a little concerned about a 1-year warranty for that much money. I'm shocked that that's all they're gonna give you. It's kind of ridiculous, to be quite honest with you.
We would definitely in the bid process up that, but we go out and say we're gonna get a 10-year and have it come back at 8 years, so the 1 year is a guarantee, but we definitely feel that we can at least.
I mean, there's nothing mechanical here. We need an extended warranty on. I mean,
Really,
it
the
doesn't.
installation.
Right, it's the installation to make sure that.
He says that we believe, meaning Sustainable Fairfield, that there's health risk to athletes who are using the field. And you, I just want to be clear, you, the board, everybody does not believe there's any health risk, correct?
None whatsoever. I don't know what basis they believe that.
Okay.
I don't know what.
I wanted to, well, first of all, in regards to I thought Mr. Stark brought up a couple good points. What I always have a problem with is when we try to sell projects based on savings, but there's really no analysis. So like, there's no information here. But we're told that there's savings. This is one of the selling projects. I would in the future try to, if you're gonna use that as a selling point, be able to reference what those savings are. Come to us with even a rudimentary spreadsheet on what you see on the cost of a normal field, grass field, a turf field versus this type of field. And he also has a point that he followed up with, which I thought was another excellent point, which is that there's been no analysis done on the usage of the field and how much more it's being, you can use. I'm not denying that that's a possibility. I'm sure that you know from other things, but in the future, if you guys can come to us with analysis, at least, I think if you do it one time, you could use it for every turf field going forward.
Well, I wouldn't base the decision on savings. So
Okay.
that's why
Then it shouldn't be sold. It shouldn't even be mentioned. It shouldn't even be part of the presentation because we're being sold this, but we're not gonna do this. Now I'm actually hearing you say, I wouldn't.
I
base it
never
on anything.
mentioned savings. I'm just
Okay.
saying usage. And this field will be used every single day for several hours, except for the winter season when there are no sports. But from Thanksgiving until early March, the rest of the year, you're gonna see usage every single day. Which is not the case now, which makes it much more difficult.
All right. I'm just saying, I think you should do a little analysis before you come in next time, but now I'm hearing you say that, so either take it out of your presentation, the next time you present on this, don't even mention those two things as selling points for the project, or come forward with the analysis, so we can just have a quick look at it. And then lastly, this whole light thing concerns me, because I don't see it part of your whole application here. And the thing that concerns me is a couple things. First of all, the public has no notice and can't be here and can't be before any board because you're not selling lights. You're not saying we're gonna put lights. I don't know whether this is gonna bother people in that neighborhood or not. And they should be, our taxpayers should be able to weigh in on this. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, if we have savings enough, we're gonna put some lights
There's already lights on the turf field on the site.
on this current
The ward site.
grass field.
No, on the ward site.
Okay. Is there site, are there any lights on where this field is gonna be located?
Not current.
Okay,
This field is next to the current field.
okay.
Adjacent.
I've been to a lot of town meetings where neighbors come out, and now this would be additional lights, so it's additional lighting. And if this was gonna have lights, I thought it should be part of the whole process. And through you, Madam Chairwoman, I would like to ask our bond counsel, who's on the phone right now, I see him online, Attorney John Staffstrom. John, does this lighting proposal, it's not even part of the whole application or bonding resolution. Does that have to be added to the bonding resolution or this procedure, or can they just add anything they want with any savings?
You're talking, you're muted.
There I am.
There you are.
I think the proposal is drafted fairly broadly. So I think that, you should have that discussion, but I think they would have whatever is encompassed in the artificial turf project, I think they would be able to include.
Well, wouldn't you agree, John, that it's a major difference whether it's a lighted field or not?
I haven't actually looked at the cost analysis of that, but I'm assuming from what the board members are talking about in the presentation, that if you're talking about a turf field that's available into the night, there probably would need to be lights included.
Okay, so they can pretty much add anything they wanted. They wanted the field to be heated, to maintain a temperature in the winter time. They can add in a complete heating or air conditioning system to the field, so that anything that has to do with any turf field that they find advisable along the way.
I think that the board is voting to give them $2.3 million to build this project. I think you should, if you want to, you should have a discussion about what that entails. And if lights were not included, how much the project would cost. If the fields were heated, how much more that would cost. But I think at this point, you're giving them $2.3 million to build a turf field within the parameters of whatever the project is that's envisioned in the backup. Sorry to not be more specific, but the project is broadly worded. And obviously what they're asking the board to do is give them $2.3 million to build out the whole project.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So the way you presented it, are you saying that if you could get lights within the $2.3 million scope, you would get them?
We would look into what the cost would be to add the lights if we had it within the $2.3 million scope. I don't believe we are going to. I think the more of the thought with lights particular was that we would do some pre-work at a time if available, run the piping conduit underneath, so that if down the road another project were to come before you to add lighting, it wouldn't entail ripping up what we've already done to add conduit underneath the field. Anything you would look at would meet the town spec requirements, which is no light bleed outside of the property line. So we would definitely have to look into all of that if it was something we even.
Okay, that makes sense. I would say, I think there were some good questions here, so some of the follow-up items I would suggest that you address, assuming if this passes this board, when you go before the RTM, I think it's a good idea to have an estimate of the savings on maintenance. Even if you're not selling it as a cost-saving measure, people are approving a $2.3 million project. So if there's some offset, I think that's important to know. I also think the point about, and I don't remember who raised it, but usage comparison, how many times, what's the practical impact of this, and just be able to give them that information. I believe you, because I've heard this from numerous residents, but quantifying it, I think, is a reasonable thing to do in the analysis.
Probably readily on hand by Gina
Yeah.
DiGiacomo, the athletic director.
Okay, so I would have that for the RTM and, you know, and I think the clarity on the lights, because I think to Mr. Walsh's point, you know, lights are always, a sticky topic, when it comes to, you know, whatever, neighbors, impact on birds, you know, whatever it is, like, there's been a lot of discussion, and I know the RTM in past projects has had some really, thorough, questions about those things, so I would certainly be prepared for that.
The intention was never to present this as turf field with lights, but to prep the site.
And that's an important clarification, so thank you for that, appreciate that.
That is.
Because I think this way down the road, we wouldn't have to rip up any
Yeah.
field in good condition to run any
Mr.
light.
Curley?
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. If you can run the conduits now, I agree with Mr. Walsh that the public should weigh in on this, especially the neighbors. Because with or without lights makes a difference.
Sure.
That said, I was a volunteer with Fairfield National League for 10 years. Field coordinator, responsible for 6 fields, all grass. Anytime we had rain, games were canceled, practices were canceled, things got doubled up. It was a nightmare. Yes, there are savings potentially, but also the, you know, trying after a rainstorm to try and get a field ready in a short amount of time to allow kids to play. So I think for that reason, the availability, it's a huge plus from my perspective. The other thing is we did receive a lot of communication from some of the folks at the board. They did talk about equity. They did want to make sure that there was parity between the two campuses. So for those reasons, I think I think you've done a great job of addressing some of the potential health issues. I like that you're getting away from the crumb rubber. I like that you addressed the maintenance part of it, and for that reason, I'm going to support it. So.
Ms. Vitale, did you want to weigh in or?
Just to follow up on the lights, and I apologize for not raising the Board of Selectmen scoreboard. Just in terms of prepping, I know that when we put the turf in at Ward, the new scoreboard came in afterwards and just prepping it for the electrical, any kind of work that might be there. And I don't know if you have plans for this, if it gets approved, changing the scoreboard or.
Right now, there is no plans. I think the school and the athletic department there is satisfied with a turf field to this point. There is currently a scoreboard that is sufficient. We're not looking to play football games on this field.
Just, you know, if you think in the future, just to the same line of thinking that you like, is something to consider if it's getting installed.
Ms. Ruggiero?
Don't we have lights that are like roll at Tomlinson?
Portables? Yeah.
Yes. So isn't that an option as well? Like rather than putting in, we have the lights that you just bring out when at night.
Yeah,
when needed.
there's some CIAC rules around portable lights that, that they don't comply. So usually that's not gonna be an option.
I mean, putting in the, if we had
Yeah.
certain, the ability to put in the, you know, the technology needed or the running the wires, et cetera. Now, I think it'd be certainly worthy. Just putting that as an alternative, have lights that can roll, or we consider that down the road if needed. But I guess we can't.
No. But we will prep it.
Mr. Walsh?
Explain to me this equity argument about these fields. Is there 2 fields at Ludlow
There are not.
There are 2 these fields at Ludlow.
Well, that's the football stadium and now the Ludlow Middle School field that's open.
Okay.
There's lights there.
Should we make the argument that it should be a Fairfield Woods? Or is there already one at Fairfield Woods?
There's not.
Okay.
But then you would have to travel the woods. That would have transportation costs.
How much would lights add to the project?
Lights, similar to the ones we just replaced at Ward, they're approximately $100,000 to $150,000 per field like this. You're looking at about 6 lights minimum to do it. So that's why I said I don't foresee this being a light project as well. I think maybe the infrastructure part of it is where we are with
Okay, for equity purposes, why not just add the $900,000 and light them? Why wouldn't you just do that if you wanted to have equity? Let's go the other side of the coin now. Why not just add the lights?
Someone wants to make that motion?
I'll make the motion. Let's just be honest about what we're doing here. If we really want equity, let's have equity. So
We
I'll
don't
make
have,
a.
do we have an analysis of, is that a hard cost? And I just, we don't, that's not in the waterfall now either.
It wasn't in the waterfall. That is a cost from the lighting manufacturer.
That we
from-
just did
that we
at-
just did
At
board.
board.
I would suggest if you want lights, just come back to us in the next year. Change your waterfall chart and
Wouldn't this be easier to just do them now? If it's part of the project?
do it, but again, the ADs were more concerned about getting the field situated and relieving some of the pressure on the use of the field up there. That was the priority.
Is the light's gonna slow it down? And they went up pretty quick, or the new ones went
It
up
won't
pretty
slow
quick.
it down. It was just a matter of bringing up the costs, and we were trying to be fiscal responsible to the neighbors and to the community of not blowing a project completely. I mean, this is a $3.2 million project. Yeah, over $4 million at that.
If you want to come back with light, I mean, I would also be of the opinion that if you decide you want lights, I would come back with it. But I think it would be the analysis that you requested before about the usage, getting a little more concrete with that. You know, I mean, because if someone's not asking for lights now, I'm questioning why and how necessary it is and how much additional usage that would provide and if we really need that. And, you know, you can come back. I mean, we were asked, I know the Board of Selectmen move this forward. Typically, we vote on a lot of these projects in the spring, but I know your timing with getting bids and wanting to do work in summer and all that. We're taking this up now, but there's certainly time for this board in the spring before our bonding deadline to look at that if there's necessity. And I think if you do that, you should bring back that, formalize that analysis that.
All right, I'm gonna make another motion. I'm not gonna add the lights, but I'm gonna be honest. Let's be very honest with what this is, that it's not gonna include the lights, but it will include the infrastructure. And just so that everybody knows what it is, so that they cannot spend money on the actual lights, but they can spend money on the infrastructure. So based on that, I'm gonna make an amendment, and after the words,
Where are you?
I'm on the first page of the agenda on number 3.
Okay, I thought. All right, well, I'll ask John. I don't know if this has to change the resolution itself, but on the item 3, okay.
For the costs associated with Fairfield Ward artificial turf project, comma, including conduits and infrastructure for future lights, but not actually installing lights or light poles.
That's it. Get a second for it.
I'll second that.
Do you have okay, second that? All right, discussion?
Can I just,
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh, can I just hear that again, including, it's gonna say, costs associated with the Fairfield Ward artificial turf project, such costs to include but not be limited to installation of artificial turf. And after that, you're gonna say, including conduits for future lighting.
Conduits and infrastructure for a future lighting program, but not including the poles or actual lights themselves.
So John, you're on paragraph 1 of the Mr. Staffstrom, Attorney Staffstrom, the bond resolution itself, right?
Yes, I'm in the resolve resolution. I think
Okay.
that's where we would add it.
Yes, I
But
agree.
not including poles and actual lights. Okay, so what we're doing is we're clarifying that the electrical conduits would be included. But we're excluding the use of the money for the poles and the lights.
Yes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but to the administration and to the chair, that's really what you want. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I just ask a clarifying question based on what I heard? do we want to limit that to conduits for a future lighting program? Or there are things that might be included such as scoreboards and other things that need the electrical conduits?
No, they don't seem to need that.
Okay.
So, and Attorney Stafford, before we vote on that amendment, does this, would this be okay to go to the RTM without reverting back to the Board of Selectmen with that change?
Yes, in my view, it would, because in my view, it's an insubstantial change from what the board actually approved. I think the board contemplated that the project would be built with the electrical conduits and that already in that. And from what I'm hearing from the presenters on the Board of Education, they did not intend to include the lights in the 2.3 million anyway.
Are there any, Ms. Vitale?
It's a follow-up question to that. What if the project, you don't have the money to do the conduits?
We won't.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
No, I'm fine with it. We're only.
want to make sure that you're okay with
I want to make sure there's no cost overrun on it.
Just want to make sure that you're okay based on changing this, that if they start the project and they're like, well, we can do the turf, but we can't do the conduits because something else came up, that they can still just moving
I
forward.
want to do it up to the approved amount, up to $2.3 million. And if they have to come back under our lighting program and now do conduits and now do infrastructure because it couldn't fit into the 2.3, then they make a whole
For the lighting.
lighting project resolution in the future.
Your 2.3 million estimate contemplated that you would be doing this infrastructure preparation. Oh, right.
Just want to clarify that was part of the pricing of doing that work.
Any other,
The only other thing you do is if we're so close, you're $50,000 off, you could always go back to the boards and ask for a modification.
any other comments or
Yeah,
questions
can I-
on the
can I ju-
amendment?
I just want to be clear so that because this is an important question that the first selectman asked. So, but it is contemplated that 2.3 is enough to cover the electric conduits also.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the amendment? All right, so we can vote on the amendment then. Not going to repeat all the words because I didn't write them down, but is everyone satisfied they can vote on the amendment without that? Okay. So all in favor of the amendment to paragraph 1 of the bond resolution as previously stated, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Abstained? Okay, that amendment passes 801 with Mr. Stark abstaining. Are there any other comments or questions on the project itself?
Do we have to also change the language in the actual agenda item?
The answer is no. The amendment to the bond resolution is enough. That is the overarching document we're worried about.
All right, thank you.
Other-
Excuse me. I thought that you wanted to change the agenda.
No, John said we don't have to, so.
I thought it was a question of notice for the public. So if they're looking at this meeting, they understand that there might be lights down the line.
We're not voting for.
In the minutes. In the minutes.
Well, and it's good, the RTM will get the bond resolution as well.
Ms. Vitale, did you have another?
Just other field, the field of Roger Level Middle School is a town field. Are Fairfield Public Schools playing games on that field? They are, okay.
All right, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, any comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, we can vote on this item. All in favor of approving the resolution and bond authorization set forth in item 3 of the agenda, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the motion passes 8-1-0 with you start voting. Thank you. So we're going to move on to item 4. To hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled "A Resolution Appropriating $913,440 Cost of Parking Lot Paving Projects at Roger Ludlow Middle School and fiscal, and authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation." Motion to hear this item. Ms. Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Hurley. So the backup for this item is in the posted meeting documents online. The bond resolution starts on page 4, and the project backup starts on page 15. Angeles, are you going to kick this one off?
So what you have before you is the 14 points for paving project at our Roger Ludlow Middle School parking lot and Fairfield Ludlow High School parking lot. Typically, we do paving projects in our operating budget. These are two large lots that extraordinary costs, just under $1 million to do both of them. The operating costs. Also, the intent is paving. We will also be doing some water infiltration, so snow ledges, so that we make it safer for use in the coming years. Currently, we have the two parking lots, when we plow it, the only place to place snow is in the top corner of both lots closest to the road, which also ends up being the highest point of the parking lot. So during a winter season, we get a lot of melt, freeze, we get a lot of icing in the parking lot. For salting to be done to make them safe and convenient on them. A snow shelf was put into RLMS a couple of years back in an attempt to kind of curtail that. So now the top, if you're familiar with that parking lot, that top corner where the snow is pushed, it's actually a stone pad there. So the snow is put up there. It melts. It's a stone as opposed to running across. It has done what it was expected to do, but we knew it wasn't going to be a fix. This would include putting some snow shelves in, some underground water drainage, so it would give the water in the wintertime a place to melt and flow into the underground. It's parking lot safer. It also includes in there the Ludlow High School parking lot. That parking lot lights throughout it over the years were placed at the outer edges. Instead, they were converted to LED and less lights were used. So there's a lot of old underground boxes in the current parking lot that have been failing. They sink more, so it's giving an uneven. So this pricing also includes to do a paving, reclaiming, and also some regrading of both parking lots to get a better area, along as I mentioned, snow shelves that keep water crossing from the.
Thank you for that. Questions, Mr. Matola?
I thought maybe we just briefly touched on this during the walk. We talked about this on because it seems very familiar. I think I recall that what you have there now has lasted for 20 plus years. Yes, and I know one of the comments that has come up before is doing a 20-year bond on paving. A road paving project is a much different life expectancy than a parking lot paving, as doesn't get the heavy use, the continuous heat you do on a road thing. So that's why we anticipate well beyond 20 years. As I mentioned, the Board of Selectmen, the Roger Ludlow Middle School parking lot that we're looking at now was installed with the build of that building, which is just over. Yeah, it was in the 22 years. And then Ludlow High School, we couldn't find any research or data. We didn't find when the last time that was done. Based on the condition of both of them, they look very similar. We were estimating that they were probably both. If you, I don't know if you can answer this question now, but I'm sure the RTM is going to ask you. Part of the sustainability letter talked about looking at yes, impervious. So I guess that the permeable, I guess the water gets absorbed more, is not as much.
Of course, it goes through it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they had, I think, before we had to redo Penfield. Yep. They had it down there in that parking lot. So, and I know was it at the train station as well? So what's is that something that's, something you could do at these parking lots, and that's one of the good costs? Could you do it? You can do it at any parking lot. What is the cost? It means that we're going from regrading to removal of material adding of stone base so that we have a place for that water to go as it goes through the lot, through the park area. From the state bid list, it takes a project like this, it raises it 3 to 4% higher than doing normal. Is it normal? But the
3 to 4%?
3 to 4% or 3 to 4 times.
3 to 4 times, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was gonna say, sign me up.
Yes. No,
Right.
3 to 4 times the cost. We actually looked at that, and then we also looked at, the possibility of doing permanent pavers, to do a paver lot as opposed to a paving lot. You get 20+ years out of a paver, and it's, if you're gonna do the pervious, that's really a better option because they last longer than the pervious. Pervious tends to, just like a track, it kind of push, it's almost like a sponge, so it gets ripped and torn more often.
I don't want to be disrespectful to the folks that wrote the letter, but
No, I
really, we're picking on 2 parking lots at our schools for sustainability when we have asphalt roads, driveways and everything else, and that's what we're gonna.
No,
start
I'm just
looking at.
telling you, you're gonna be asked these questions.
Come on.
I asked,
We'll do dirt roads.
Wait, but are we,
that'd be cheaper.
this is no different than what we have there now.
Correct.
It's not like we're.
No,
we're
and I
paving all
get
the
it.
ground.
Not increasing the square footage.
I'm with you. I just want to,
Okay,
you're gonna
no, I think
be asked these questions and you have
it's
answers.
important to address the questions from the public, and this, I think,
I think it's really, really important that there's a discussion, and if it can be put to rest, as you seem to think it's not an issue, it should be put to rest.
Yeah.
Because this isn't the first time. This isn't the first time I've heard of this from. I'm not doubting that you guys have done your due diligence, but people need to hear it. Not for me, clearly, but.
what you need is a lozenge.
You need to go home and rest.
Whiskey hurts me.
Mr. Myers.
So the solar, the solar stations, whatever we call them, on the other side of Ludlow.
Yes.
Is there a plan to expand that type of structure, and would we ever foresee them going in on these 2 lots?
We have no plan at this time to.
I mean, that wouldn't be your plan, that would be like the town's plan. If the town
A few years ago proposed putting solar installations in that front lot at Ludlow Middle.
Yeah.
That did not get a support.
Okay, so that's, I just want to make sure we're not putting these new lots in and then somebody comes up later and says, oh, we should have laid the groundwork or whatever for those. And as far as the number of parking spaces, when they reline, stay the same, or we're gonna lose spots? Gain spots?
Same footprint, we're not increasing coverage.
And then as far as like moving the snow to the top of the hill, so all the water can roll down the hill, is there any way to build a place for the snow to be pushed at the bottom of the hill?
Problem with the bottom of the hill is it puts it on the building. Close to the
No, I'm
building.
talking about furthest from the building, closest to the road that would take you to the football field at Ludlow. There's trees. There's a,
There's.
you know what I'm talking about?
There's a small there.
I mean, I just think that it's like we put all this snow on parking spots when if we built, while we're doing this, if you built an area that could beyond where a car would park, it would be past where the sidewalk is and just grass with maybe a tree was there. I don't know.
Ludlow Middle, I'm familiar with the area you're talking about. That's something we could look at. We would have to remove quite a few trees from that area though.
That'll kill that idea.
We don't like to remove trees.
Might be better off just removing the snow and.
Okay.
Or you replant trees somewhere else to offset it.
Plant the trees on top of the snowbank.
No.
Any other questions on this item? No? Mr. Welch?
So this is 913,000 correct? When I look at your proposal in your little packet here and your non-recurring projects, there's there's one number missing, right? You have a project, unless that's, you have a number missing. You listed twice, but you have a page 30, 39, page 45. That's the one that's a project, or is that a missing number?
I see the first piece on page, the printed page 35. And then the other piece, the 412,000. So the schedule with the two pieces is on page 45. The first number I see on page 35, and then the second one is on page 39 and 40.
It's just a re-description of the combined project.
Why is it listed twice?
So we did the 14 points for each one individually, and then I gave you kind of a recap of what both of them would be. With the
Okay, I
total
just want to make
cost.
sure there's not another project.
No, it's only the two projects.
So all of these projects together were your non-recurring fiscal year, 26, 27. Total $4.6 million. Seems like a lot of money, a lot more than spending, correct?
More than we've been spending as far as.
Non-recurring projects in a given year, right?
Our ask was for last
So,
year.
but we usually talk about the capital non-recurring as below $1 million, right? So I think I was looking at it as there's two capital projects over $1 million. And then this is the one that's under $1 million. Is that right? 'Cause I know, Jim, normally the ones that we vote on in batches where it's all the small stuff, we normally take those over $1 million. I mean, under $1 million.
Mhm.
So I think there's only one that fits into the category you're talking about.
I guess if they had 25 projects that totaled $60 million, but they were all under a certain number of dollar amount, we would still consider that to be $60 million of non-recurring.
Yeah, we'd obviously be, and you've raised this before, we would be,
Yeah.
we look at the total amount of capital non-recurring, because even if they're under $1 million, if you have 60 of them, that's $60 million. But this is just, this is on the waterfall, and it's just the one for tonight at these.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And I can't recall on the waterfall if there were other, under $1 million for the current year.
For the current year.
Okay, so this is it, all right.
The projects before you tonight are the last of this current year's ask for the Board of Ed, and they were all discussed at the capital waterfall. There's nothing new added.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, comments from the public? Okay, we can vote on this item then. All in favor of accepting or approving the resolution and bond authorization set forth in item 4, please raise your hands. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 5, to hear, consider, and adopt a bond resolution entitled, "A Resolution Appropriating $1,451,093 for costs associated with the Fairfield Woods Middle School bathroom renovations project, and authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation." Motion to hear this item, Mr. Penley, seconded by Mr. Myers. The backup for this item is in the posted meeting documents online with the bond resolution. Project backup starting on page 24. Turn it back to Mr. Papa George.
So this is, again, before you have your 14 points, this is to remodel and revamp bathrooms at Fairfield Woods Middle School for the 1.451 million. This project, this pricing was built based on what we just completed at Fairfield Ludlow High School. We are saving money on this project. Similar to Fairfield Ludlow High School, we're gonna do the project management in-house. We're gonna run it in-house. That being said, the bathrooms at Wood Middle School, some of which are original to the 1954, so they don't meet ADA compliance. They're in poor shape. Again, similar to the Ludlow High School project, this is more than just adding paint and new fixtures. We're going to be running cameras down drain lines, investigating any piping that needs to be replaced behind walls is going to be replaced and revamped. It's a full project, a full bathroom project renovation. It's not just paint and new fixtures. So we feel, and then again, we feel based on our experience with Ludlow High School, the 1.4 is a good number for this project.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Myers?
Oh, yeah, is this every bathroom?
All the bathrooms at the school, yes. A lot fewer than the high school project that we did, but still quite a few bathrooms.
And then I have a question about school policy when it comes to vandalism. Kid vandalizes the bathroom. You know who it is. you can assess the damage, the cost. What's the penalty? Does the taxpayer, does the parents pay for the problem or?
That is,
With
yes.
insurance?
There is discipline imposed on the student, and the parent is responsible to cover the cost of repair.
Has that ever happened?
I'm sure it has happened in the past. We haven't had anything recently, at least in the last 3 years, where students have done any damage in terms of vandalism in bathrooms or anything like
Okay.
that.
You haven't
Students
seen-
are
You haven't seen
pretty
anything?
well behaved.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
So some minor things, maybe, you know, soap dispenser or paper towel dispenser kind of thing, but nothing substantial.
So in every single situation where a student creates vandalism in the school, you go after them.
Absolutely, just like we would do with
Any-
Chromebook or.
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure it's not selective enforcement. I just want to make sure every single one you're doing it.
We're currently in the process of collecting for 3 right now for damage to parking lot lights. The schools tend to be the location where parents learn to drive.
Wow.
Right.
Add to the insurance claim.
Other questions from the board? Ms. Ruggiero?
Are the bathrooms gonna be updated over the summer, or are they gonna be done on vacation so that it doesn't impact the kids in school?
This would be a
Both.
summer project that would complete in the school year.
Thank you, Ms. Ruggiero. Other questions on this item? Mr. Curley?
Yeah, referring back to the Sustainable Fairfield letter that we got, there was mention about low flow fixtures. Is that part of the plan? Is that just modernizing?
All of our fixtures meet the low gallon usage requirements. We use, and we also use time and washing stations, so it auto shuts off. So stuff like that to reduce water use as much as possible within the bathrooms.
Thank you, Mr. Curley. Any other questions from the board?
So while we're asking that question, do you guys use the urinals where stuff goes through the solution so that no water needs to be run through them?
We do not, and I will tell you, we do not because we've looked into it and have investigated into it. And if you use a no water urinal,
Yeah.
you still need to flush the system because nothing moves through the system. The systems were created to have water flow to move materials through the waste system. So by reducing the amount of water flowing or any liquids flowing through the system, we've actually, where we've reduced or looked into it, we've had to go in and pay to snake lines as opposed to clean them out because we're getting blockage. And when blockage occurs, it gets harder and harder until it's completely blocked and solid. And then we have to go and snake lines out.
I think people need to realize this is a middle school. 713 and 14, 12-year-olds. So low flow, and as much as we want to be cognizant of respecting the environment, we also not want, because things end up in toilets, probably should. So we can't have clogs and things.
Yeah.
That's,
I just don't,
I'm just speaking from 30 years in public education.
You're just seeing those systems almost everywhere now. They're showing up everywhere.
Well,
I don't know.
show me a middle school and I'm happy to.
I don't know how everyone else is handling these. So,
Well, and again, you have the fixtures that are no flow, but then you have to put behind the wall systems that you can actually go through and flush systems out. So you may not be flushing a urinal 30 times a day, but now you're running 14, 15 gallons of water at night through it, flush the system out. So it's balancing out. We have done a lot of looking into these type of.
All right.
Something new.
You learn something every day in this
Oh, yeah.
job.
I want to go on the
Would there be a
WPCA
limit?
board after this. All right, any other? That happened. Any other questions from the board? Comments from the public?
And there's no heated toilets, needs.
No warm dates, no COVID days, no, sir.
I know we're talking about middle schools, but the potty humor we can.
Well, he mentioned the
All
heated
right, all
turf field, so I just wanted.
Oh, that was like.
Okay, why don't we vote on this item? So all in favor of approving the resolution and bond authorization set forth in item 5, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
And
Thank you.
before we wrap up, I think it's, you recognize
Oh,
you guys.
yes.
Yeah. Mr. Peterson, thank you for your time on the board. You've been in front of this board a number of times in the last number of years. And,
8 years, yeah.
And we thank you for your service as well. You've always been straight with this board and you had a lot of credibility. The Board of Ed will miss you when you're gone and we will too. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And I only say that if I seemed like I knew what I was talking about, it's only because I had excellent people backing me up. But I do appreciate it. It's been a great experience being here. I've gotten to know a lot of you very well, especially in the last year working very closely with Charlton. It's been a great experience. Thank you for
Yeah,
your.
no,
You can let your hair grow again.
You'll be missed.
Shave it. Thank you.
You will be missed. No, I just, I want to say, Mr. Peterson, one of the things that I've really appreciated since you've been chair is your outreach and just, I think communication between the boards is so important and critical. And I've really enjoyed the partnership that we've had. And thank you for that because it's, hasn't always been that way. And I hope whoever your successor is will take the same approach with whoever my successor is, because I think that works to the benefit of all of
I
us.
completely agree. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Thank you
so
again.
much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good luck.
All right. Okay, so we are going to move on to item 6. Item 6 is to hear, consider, and act upon approving a DUI enforcement grant in the amount of $54,720 from the Department of Transportation's Highway Safety Office. Support the Fairfield Police Department's DUI enforcement activities to enhance roadway safety and support the town's Vision Zero initiatives. And further authorizing the Fairfield Police Department to accept, appropriate, and expend said grant and to execute any and all documents required to effectuate said grant. Motion to hear this item. Ms. Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Curley. The backup for this item is posted online beginning on page 31. And we have Captain Irizarry. Okay, I was going to pronounce your name wrong, so I apologize, Hector, but thank you for being here. Welcome. I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you. Thank you also for pronouncing my name correctly. I appreciate that. As you know, the DUI enforcement grant provides targeted funding for overtime enforcement, equipment, and administrative costs associated with dedicated DUI patrols and sobriety checkpoints. These operations will be conducted during high-risk periods such as weekends, holidays, and community events where data indicates increased incidents of impaired driving. The initiative also includes a strong public education component, emphasizing awareness of the dangers of impaired driving and promoting responsible choices through media outreach and community engagement. The anticipated impacts of this grant include increased visibility and deterrence through dedicated DUI patrols, a measurable reduction in alcohol-involved motor vehicle crashes and fatalities, and a strong coordination with our state and regional partners. Most importantly, a safer community for all who live, work, and travel throughout Fairfield. We respectfully request the board's approval to accept this grant funding from the Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Right. Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, we can vote on this item. All in favor of accepting the grant set forth in item 6 and approving the appropriation of those grant funds, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you, everyone. So we will move right into item 7. To consider and act upon approving a grant in the amount of $9,933.90 the Department of Transportation's Highway Safety Office for the Fairfield Police Department's Click It or Ticket Targeted Traffic Enforcement Initiative for seatbelt enforcement. And further authorizing the Fairfield Police Department to accept, appropriate, and expend said grant and to execute any and all documents required to effectuate said grant. Motion to hear this item. Mr. Matola, seconded by Ms. Leclerc. The backup for this item is posted online. I think this is page 33, if I had that right, although the backup had this as $10,000, so it's slightly different, but I think I've got the right page there, but I'll turn this back over to the captain.
Yes, $10,000, that is accurate. This initiative is focused. It's a focused traffic safety operation designed to increase seatbelt compliance, reduce motor vehicle crashes and injuries, and enhance overall community safety through a combination of high visibility enforcement and public education. The operation will be conducted in partnership with state and local law enforcement agencies, which will target high crash corridors and, my favorite, school zones. Areas where data has shown lower seatbelt usage and higher incident rates. Our enforcement strategy includes roving patrols, fixed checkpoints, guided by real-time crash and violation data to ensure that our efforts are both effective and efficient. In addition to enforcement, the grant supports public outreach and education with coordinated messaging before and during each enforcement wave. This combination of education and enforcement has shown to drive measurable, lasting improvements in driver behavior. To give you a sense of this impact, during the last Click It or Ticket operation, we conducted well over 1,437 traffic stops, issued 398 citations, and identified 279 seatbelt violations. Most importantly, we saw a 12% reduction in motor vehicle crashes compared to the same period last year, or the previous year, and seatbelt compliance increased from 92% to 95%. We respectfully request the approval to receive on the awarded funds from the Connecticut Highway Safety Office.
Okay, thank you for that. Just a point of clarification, since we have this different amount in the agenda, very specific amount here, is which amount should we be approving? $10,000 or $9,000?
Nope, it's $10,000, and it's going to be over the 2 enforcement waves. The waves are from December 1st to December 5th of 2025, and then May 11th to May 31st of 2026.
Ms. Vitale, did the Board of Selectmen, did you approve $10,000 or $9,903? So we can amend this agenda item, but I just wanted to.
I think that we, $9,933.98.
I don't know, we can amend this to approve the $10,000. I don't know if this needs to go back to you. I'll leave that to you, but okay. So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda item number 7 to change the grant amount to $10,000. Can I second to that, Mr. Curley? Any questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the amendment to the agenda item to $10,000? Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. Any other comments on this item? Mr. Walsh.
Captain Irizarry, a couple of questions. So you said 297 tickets were issued last year.
Yes, sir.
How much does each ticket cost?
Oh, Jesus, you caught me off guard. Back when I was on patrol, Mr. Walsh, that was $37, but I believe it is well above that figure now. I can get back to you with the exact amount of what that is.
I thought it was over $100 net.
Yeah, I would be remiss to give an accurate count because it's been many years since I've been on the road. So forgive me for not having that figure readily available.
So they gave us $10,000 approximately, and they make approximately $297,000. Sounds like a pretty good investment by the state.
State does a good job with that, sir.
Yeah. And I know you've been in charge of these speed cameras that are going to be going up, generating what is estimated to be $1 million a year from our residents and people traveling through our town, correct?
I am overseeing the management of the speed cameras. Yes, sir.
Are they gonna get to the point, or if you're hearing, are they gonna be able to find people who aren't wearing their their seatbelts, just issue tickets for that as well?
That's probably going to be way beyond my years of service within the police department.
Oh, with making so much money, you make a lot more. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions from the board on this item? Okay, public comments from the public. Right, all in favor of accepting the grant in the amount of $10,000 as described in the agenda item as amended, item 7, and approving the appropriation of those grant funds, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. So we'll move to item 8. Whereas the town of Fairfield, oh wait, is that, I think that's the last one for,
It's the canopy.
let me just, sorry, I wanted to, who's presenting the canopy one? Troy. Okay, so that's it for,
He's gonna do the.
No, he's gonna do,
For 9.
okay, so I won't say goodbye yet to, okay. All right. So item 8, whereas the town of Fairfield has been awarded a grant in the total amount of $122,250 by the state of Connecticut as part of the Department of Energy. And whereas the grant is for the construction of a canopy over the recycling trailer transfer station located at 898 Ridley Right Way. Now therefore be resolved that the first selectman be and hereby is authorized to accept, appropriate, and expend said grant and execute any and all required documents to effectuate said grant. And whereas the project requires additional funds from the town in the amount of $23,175 to fabricate and install a recycling canopy at the Fairfield Transfer Station. As detailed in Town of Fairfield RFP 2025-51R for a lump sum amount not to exceed $145,425. A motion to hear this item, Mr. Penley, seconded by Mr. Myers. If you can't talk, Shane, you can just raise your hand. The backup for this item is posted online. It's on page 35. And, oh, Troy, over to you. Thank you for being here.
There and left.
Yes.
Troy, you're on. Seem like he's muted because you don't see a microphone.
No, we can't hear you.
I'm talking, we can't hear you though.
Yeah, we're not hearing you. I don't know if FairTV, is there any issue with the,
It's a microphone. I see a microphone.
Gotta be muted on his side.
we don't have a mute icon, but we can't, I know. We're not hearing anything.
Okay. How
Is
fast
there-
can you type?
Say the same thing.
Is
Tight.
there, so this, Ms. Vitale, I don't know if you've unmuted me. Is there anyone else who can speak to this item?
I can only speak to the town share of fund.
Okay, Ms. Vitale, do you?
I can speak to it. Sorry, this is Eli Gazal.
Okay,
Yep.
hi Eli, thank you.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the canopy roof over at the transfer station. It's a Department of Energy grant that we received. We decided to use it up against the transfer station there because there is a container that is cardboard, and when it rains, the cardboard is no longer recyclable because it's getting destroyed. So we decided to build a canopy over the container. And so the grant that's in front of us, Department of Energy, like I said, and there's a small town share that we're going to use to complete the project, and that is coming out of the NIP fund in the town, and that was approved with DBW.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Harris, any other comments from you?
No, as you said, it's gonna be fun. Yep.
The 20, okay. Questions for Mr. Myers?
I was just gonna ask, because I feel like I've heard the NIP fund was gonna be used for something else, so I just want to make sure that we using like future expectations of NIP funds, or are we only allocating NIP funds that we have on hand?
Well, we're using NIP funds that we have on hand. The Conservation Department has about 12,000 that's encumbered. There is about 106,000 that is in the fund. And we discussed a project, a DPW project at the last meeting for paving. We'd indicated that that would be funded from the NIP fund, but they're gonna use the paving budget for that and not the NIP fund. So the 23,000 will come from the balances in the NIP fund.
Reallocated,
Correct.
said before, for this project.
You just remind me what that is. Sorry.
It's,
The little bottles of alcohol.
Oh, the knit fund.
Yeah,
All right.
People pay a deposit for the little.
Yeah, I get it.
alcoholic.
I thought you say knit fund. I'm like, we got a knitting club or something? Thank you.
Drink up. Get more.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Other questions from the board? Mr. Walsh?
Eli, do we have any pictures of this thing? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what this is. I know you have, I've been down to the recycling area. There's one container that you put cardboard boxes in, and you're gonna be putting a canopy over that for $145,000?
Yeah, so we're actually we're using the existing concrete abutments there in the walls to build a canopy. It's a steel beam canopy, and it's essentially going to get a corrugated metal roof right on top of that. So it's a stick-built canopy.
So there's currently two lanes of traffic when you go to do your recycling down there. One's on one side of the containers, I guess they're containers for everything, for the plastic, glass, whatever, the one stream stuff. And then there's, right next to it, there was the cardboard, and you could go up the left side or the right side. So you're not gonna be able to go up the left side?
No, so this is elevated. So the container is actually significantly underneath the canopy.
How high is
actually
this
on-
thing? How high will this be from the ground level when you're approaching the container?
The container sits on the lower level, so if you
Yes,
drive
yes.
up, if you drive up, it's probably going to be another 10 feet on top.
Okay, but if you're standing next to the container that has the cardboard, how high is like the entryway underneath there, 10 feet?
Read the comments too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Troy's on here. I don't know. He's having
Size of a full tractor
difficulties.
okay, so what does he say?
His comment is, what happened is, he just had a nice comment there that disappeared.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. The size of his full tractor trailer, not the smaller dumpster containers you're thinking of.
Throw the cardboard down into.
You throw the cardboard down into this container because the container's on the lower side of where you drive up to. So you're looking down at the container, and this canopy is going to be over it.
Okay, but this Troy guy, I've never met, welcome.
Troy's a project manager with the capital projects team.
Okay, he's trying to say that the container that I'm speaking about, where I put my cardboard, this is not the one we're talking about. That's what he says. Says, it is the size, a full tractor trailer, not the smaller dumpster size container you are thinking of. So if it's not the ones I'm thinking of, where else would I put cardboard?
So it's to the right of the garbage building. Like you don't see the container when you're driving up because it's at a lower level.
Yeah, so there's those containers that are down below.
Correct.
I'm allowed to throw cardboard down there?
Yes.
I don't see anything saying that when I'm there.
I want your car.
Now you know.
Thing for metal, thing for metal, and I'm not supposed to poach,
Next time
you
you
know,
buy.
all sorts of stuff like that.
Okay.
But I don't see a thing for cardboard. I guess I'll look. Okay.
Now you know. All right.
Next
Any-
time it might be nice to see the architect's wants the scale, diagram, I guess.
Maybe throw a picture in the backup. Okay. Other questions from the board? On this side? Okay. Hang on, let me, that's my. Okay, comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of accepting the grant set forth in item 8 and approving the matching and appropriation of those grant funds, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move to item 9, which is to hear, consider, and act upon reappropriations of fiscal 25 account surpluses. Motion to hear this item. Mr. Myers, seconded by Ms. Leclerc. So the backup for this item is posted online on page 66. There's just one item. Here, just as a note for the public, a reappropriation of account surplus, such as the one we're considering in this item, is put forth when a department wants to carry forward funds from the prior year budget that were not expended by year end. So in this case, the fiscal 25 budget. So if approved, this would have the impact of charging this expense to last year's budget when the expenses made, even though the expenses were not incurred by the prior last year end. So Captain Arizari, are you gonna take us through this one?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so the police department is looking for a funds transfer of 64,000. I believe it is 144. And this is going to help offset costs of our swap over from the Fairfield or from the police Explorers to the Chevy Tahoes. The cost differences that we need coverage for is the increased price for the vehicles, as well as the increased price per vehicle upfit. And this funds transfer will help us facilitate that for the fiscal year 25.
Okay, questions from the board? This item? Mr. Walsh.
Will that be enough, Captain Irizarry, if we transfer the 64,144.30 to cover it, including the upfitting?
That will be enough, Mr. Walsh, for the 4 Chevy Tahoes that we are looking to upfit. So that'll assist us in covering that.
Okay, and I appreciate you including the upfitting in that. I mean, upfitting is, we're learning more about upfitting of emergency vehicles than I ever thought we'd learn, and also learning about some of the stuff we recently got from our chairwoman, showing that upfitting sometimes is considered maintenance or repairs, which we'll talk about hopefully later. So I appreciate your department giving us an entire amount for the total upfitting and the cost of the vehicle. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Other questions on this item? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor of approving the reappropriation of fiscal 25 account surpluses as set forth in item 9 and the related meeting backup, please raise your hand. Mr. Stark, are you doing one? Okay, thank you. It is unanimous. Thank you, Captain Irizarry. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Okay, good night. Okay, so we're gonna move to item 10. To hear, consider, and act upon a resolution approving the transfer of fiscal year 24-25 spending surplus. Resolved that the town hereby authorizes, approves, and directs the transfer of the fiscal year 24-25 spending surplus as follows. A portion of the 24-25 surplus resulting from actual expenditure amounts that were less than budgeted expenditure amounts shall be transferred to the account specified in the agenda, which is contribution surplus. The amount of such transfer to contribution surplus may not exceed an amount that causes the town's unassigned fund balance to exceed 11.76% of the town's fiscal 24-25 operating budget. After the transfer of the spending surplus, any remaining spending surplus shall be transferred to the debt service fund. Motion to hear this item. Ms. Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Matola. Backup for this item is posted online, beginning on page 68. For the benefit of the public, this item deals with the treatment, as described in the agenda item, of fiscal 25 budget surpluses that result from net expenses being under budget. So there are two pieces to this, and the first part commits a portion of the surplus to the town's fund balance, which can be thought of as a reserve or a rainy day fund. And based on this board's longstanding policy, we aim to keep that fund balance at a stable percentage of our annual expense budget. And we do that because it's fiscally prudent, and because our fund balance percentage is an important benchmark that our rating agencies use to evaluate the fiscal health of our town, which in turn affects the cost of our debt. So that's the portion that gets us to 11.76%. And the proposal for the remaining expense surplus beyond that amount is to transfer it into a debt service fund where it can be used in the future, subject to a vote by the town bodies. This is consistent with how we've treated expense surpluses for the last number of years. So, Mr. Ferris, I will turn this over to you and can take us through the backup.
Total amount of the expense surplus is $2,239,590. Round numbers, $2,240,000. This variance was discussed at the quarterly meeting. We went through the components of the variance. That amount has decreased by about $400,000 since the quarterly meeting.
How much?
About $410,000. And the reasons for the decrease are, one, at the last meeting, the board approved a transfer of $198,000 from contingency to accrue for a pending union contract. And the balance is primarily to PTO accruals which had not been paid. Excuse me, that we mentioned at the meeting. So those are the primary components of the variance. So again, the total variance is $2,240,000.
And how much of that $2,240,000 do we need to get to the 11.7?
$1,536,000.
5 million, so that leaves 700,000. Is subject to the final audit, would go to debt service. Okay. So the spending surplus would fully cover the sort of safe harbor, whatever, hold harmless on the, okay. All right, questions from the board? Ms. Ruggiero?
I don't see that number you're referring to in the backup here. Is there something I'm not seeing?
No, there's nothing back, but we could pull out, again, it was discussed at the quarterly. We can give you the schedule that makes up the components of it. At the quarterly, we did issue a report that indicated provided the details for the variance and budget. And again, the primary components of that were savings in DPW. There was a vacancy variance. There was a variance in heart and hypertension. Those were the principal components of it, but we can.
Which number are you looking for though?
The 2 million.
Oh, the two, okay, so the
Yeah.
2 million surplus, yeah,
Yeah.
so that was from the quarterly meeting.
Right.
Okay, got
If
it.
you can include that in the backup, just because I don't have my packet last time, but I'm trying to scramble it
seeing
here.
it.
I'm not seeing anything. It just might be helpful. I see the 1,536 and 700.
So again, the major components were DPW, which was, that was about 800,000. Heart and hypertension was about 400,000. And the vacancy was about 800,000. Those were the primary positive components. And,
Spending surplus.
yeah, and they were offset by some negative variances.
Can you just repeat the number? You said 2 million.
2,240,000.
The 1.5 goes to the fund balance and the remaining goes to debt service. That's what we're doing.
you know.
And the 1.5 you're referring to, so if we look at this schedule that's provided in the backup for the general fund balance history, the amount you're talking about is the difference between the unassigned fund balance and 25. So in other words, we've got to get fund balance up to 44,715.
Correct.
So we'll need that amount to get it up to 44,715, and that's whatever that is. That's about $1.5 million. Okay.
Correct.
So this is a little easier than, I think in prior years, we might have had spending surplus be slightly less than the amount that we needed, and we had to dig into revenue surplus that made it a little more
And
complicated.
hopefully, this is subject to audit. So.
Yeah, subject to audit, but at least it's straightforward. And the way the agenda item is worded, because we've had some issues with this in the past, because there's always a chance that there's a little audit adjustment here or there. We we don't specify the amount that's going to transfer. We just specify we need the amount that's going to get us to 11.76%. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Right. Next year, can we tighten this up a little bit? It's been tightened up before, so like Mr. Ruggiero asking some. And I'm not trying to track that as well. I'm not doubting that we have the 2 million, because that's a 2,240,000 on the expense side, I think, but we need something to track this, like.
No, it's
like it would.
we can,
it would-
I'll give you, we can get your schedule. It's easy to, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't take more than a page and just get some standard form that we have every year. That'd be great. So that's on the expense surplus. And then how much is left over? 700?
Around number 700, correct.
And now you're gonna talk about the revenue surplus?
Yeah, we need to vote on that separately. That's a separate item. Okay, so there are any questions on the expense on this item?
And the 700 going to.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Any other questions on?
How much is in debt service?
About 20 million, round numbers, 20 million, that service.
20, that number is like really skyrocket, debt service amount.
Yeah.
So like, what are we doing about that? Because at some point, we are
How
over
did we get to
taxed.
20 million?
It's, well, remember, there's, we have, well, there's the internal service fund and there's a debt service.
Yeah, no, just the debt service.
Debt service.
Remember, 4 million, there's 4 million budgeted for use in operations for 2026. We budgeted a 4 million from debt service to operations to cover the 26 budget.
What was that?
It's in the budget book.
Yeah, budget, that was used to cover, that was used to get the mill rate, yeah.
And so there's about 12 million.
Yeah, 16 roughly.
And we have that much in there because we don't know how much it's gonna cost to.
That money was, there was a soft earmark for the aggregate fill pile. And as I recall, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was 8 to 10 million was from prior year surpluses. And then there's amounts that keep coming in because we have payments from Julian and some of the damages that we've collected from the fill pile settlements, I think, are going into that fund. So you're saying it's up to 16 million? And as I recall, the last estimate for the aggregate fill pile was what, 10-ish or?
9 point, a little over 9.
Okay.
That excluded the berm.
That was to cap that pile as a landfill. And it's, that was dependent on, what the ultimate settlement would be with the state and deep and all that. So it's just, that money's out there.
Are we ever gonna know, when are we gonna know what we have to do there? Any idea?
So just,
Don't have a time.
so can I think, and Eli is gone, I think what we had asked was that at some point we have a meeting with the attorney come back. If we have to do it in executive session to talk about the town strategy, we could do that. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong,
He
the
passed.
attorney passed away that had been handling this on behalf of the town. Mike Miller, was it? So we are,
He
that's,
passed and Eli's been working. We're
Yeah.
Just getting information deep and now the government shut down. So anything from the federal government is stalled.
but I think, before, so the idea with putting these surpluses aside is put them aside and figure out what to do with them later. And so I think for this board, before that money is voted on to spend in any fashion, that would be a good meeting to have so everyone can understand how much should be left there and earmarked for that fill pile issue, right? So, but last we knew, the amount in there was adequate to fully cover that fill pile. Yeah, based on the latest estimates. And that is, we get an update of that estimate every year for the audit, so that should be ready soon.
Just a question, especially in light of having new members come on this board. I feel like we're pulling numbers from like the memory bank of the quarter report, pulling numbers from the budget. I mean, why is there not a piece of paper in here to explain this? Just curious.
We can provide the details.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we
why
know.
isn't it here tonight? I'm just curious.
I really kind of looked at what you've done in previous years and, I kind of looked and said, maybe there should be something there. Why is no additional detail in there last year?
I want to follow
I
what
just
was
try-
done.
Yeah, but in retrospect, yeah, you're right.
We
So,
have new people coming on. They're not gonna know what was done.
so in
They'll go back
retrospect,
and watch
that is-
hundreds of hours of tape.
no, I don't disagree.
And I understand, Mr. Harris, you live with us every day.
No, I'm
You
not
and your
disagreeing.
finance team, and maybe even the first select woman deals with this on a daily basis and sees this number and talks about it very frequently, but we don't.
We want to make it as easy as we can.
We're talking about kind of between these two matters moving in, I think, I mean, if I'm wrong, about $10 million. What I just heard might be a $10 million number and there's already $12 million sitting there. So it begs the question of when is the taxpayer gonna get some relief? Maybe we should just, at some point, this number shouldn't stay this huge for like.
But we
But you don't-
gave
isn't that
them
what we did?
4 million
Last year,
this year in the budget. So yeah, I mean,
But I think it should be done more quickly.
we can,
It should be done more quickly. We shouldn't just be sitting here on this pot, this tens of millions of extra dollars.
I agree, but I don't agree. I don't know what's gonna cost us to fix this filter. I'm afraid of that.
No, but I'm saying after our meeting. I think-
Yeah, I agree.
I think we have to have.
Once we have a certainty about that, I agree.
And I think we gotta think about as we head into the budget. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? And
Yeah,
we
well, I
might wanna
agree.
just take a large lump sum of this.
Yeah.
Well-
And because we have been generating large surpluses for a number of years. Large.
yeah, and I think you're right, Jim. I think, one of the things we have to be careful of is most of the surpluses come from revenue, not from expenses. A lot of it's been, we got lucky on investment income and things like that. So these aren't always guaranteed. And I think I'll be happy to, before I officially retire, Tom, work with you. I think that, going forward, I would agree that I think before, one of the important items, I think, and it would be great for the new board to get up to speed, would be able to get a summary analysis of what's in that fund, the sources and uses of that surplus money. We used to get that a while ago. We've been putting away surpluses for years, but we've used it for the fill pile stuff. We've used it to finance Penfield Pavilion. We've given it back to taxpayers as part of the budget. But what we have not done is drain that because our waterfall has 0 in it for the fill pile or the berm. We have assumed that would be 100% covered by these surpluses that were set aside. So I think for the future board, you want to see, before we give it back to the taxpayer or decide to spend it in some other manner, where does that all stand? And I think, it changes even between times we vote on this, because like I said, some of the recoveries of the damages from those lawsuits have gone in here. So I'll work with you, but I think that would be great for the board. And then also having that update on where we stand. When we have a new attorney in place, I know there were things that we would discuss or not discuss in a public meeting because it involved our strategy for how we were going to try to go forward and settle that issue. So I'll be happy to work with you on that.
Yeah, because we have a lot of expenses coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, this white number's huge. The DPW number, the WPCA or WPCF even, just the facility, huge. It'd be nice to be able to throw a $10 million number at one of these projects on cash. Reduce that number so we're not paying interest on it. So I think this board will have a lot of decisions to make, but I will be happy to hear have accurate numbers.
right, so that'll be my parting gift to you. I'll make sure. All right.
Boiler and cash.
Is there a way to? How we built it up?
Oh.
You mentioned that, I just want to make sure. Excuses. What year surplus we?
I
put in.
had, with Jared Schmidt, 3 or 4 years, I had sat down and designed a schedule that showed by year
Yep.
what was put in, what came out, what was remaining, and I had a whole detailed analysis that I think I got it in front of the board when we were voting on pen, try and figure out what it was done. So I'd love to drag that out and dust it off and get it updated so that it can be.
Be good historical document. Yeah.
So I think we started doing this in 2019. So, okay. Any other comments on this, the spending surplus? Okay, comments from the,
Ten, you're still, right?
what's that?
Yep.
10, that's what I
10, yeah.
said.
Any comments from the public? Okay. All in favor of approving the transfers referenced in item 10 of the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. Great. So we'll move to item 11. This is to hear, consider, and act on a resolution approving the appropriation of the fiscal year 24-25 revenue surplus. Requires Board of Selectmen and RTM approval also. So resolved that the town hereby authorizes and approves and directs the appropriation of fiscal year 24-25 revenue surplus as follows. The portion of the 24-25 surplus resulting from actual revenue amounts that were more than budgeted revenue amounts shall be appropriated as follows. I won't read all the details that are in the agenda, but in summary, revenue for the fiscal year on June 30th, 2025 is approximately 9.2 million over budget. Motion to hear this item. Ms. Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Myers. Okay, so for the benefit of the public, this item is somewhat similar to the expense surplus we just voted on from the standpoint that the proposal here is to transfer the surplus to the debt service fund for later use as determined by the administration and all the boards. The difference here is that in order to transfer those funds, the transfers amount to an increase over and above the total approved budget appropriation. And so to do that, we have to recognize the revenue by amending the revenue budget and then vote on the transfer as an incremental budget appropriation, not just in line items. And so because that's an increase to the total budget appropriation for 2025, it requires approval from the same three bodies that approved the original budget. So Tom, I don't know that we had, so the backup for this, I think you have the detail of the incremental items, or schedule of what's in sort of the other category, but the details of this, meaning the revenue surplus that Ms. Ruggiero was asking about for the last item, are actually set forth in the agenda item. So this is, and we discussed these in the quarterly as well, right? So we could see it's driven by, you know, taxes, the higher collection rate, permits and other things, investment income, which I think a large part of that, as I recall, was unrealized, and a few other items. So anything to add to that?
These numbers were reduced by about 60,000 from the quarterly.
60,000?
60,000, 60, yeah.
small
amount. Mr. Myers?
Can I just ask a question for the general public? Because I've gotten this question recently. You know, some would say $10 million is a big number and perhaps we didn't do a good job of estimating what the revenues would be. Is that a unfair statement? Because, you know, given our budget size, 10 millions, you don't want to ever say not a lot of money, but, you know what I mean? And also, what has been the consistent surplus over the past 3 or 4 years? Because if this is the trend, then maybe we need to tighten things up a little.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak to at least two parts of this. I mean, in terms of the taxes, the collection rate was almost, was 75 basis points higher than was budgeted. So, and that's due in large part to, you know, people coming back and staying in town and paying their taxes. Another large component of it is unrealized income, which, you know, is kind of a crapshoot, you know. That's a big guess. If you look at the investment income, basically that entire variance is due to unrealized income. And that's just something you can't.
Stock market.
Yeah. You can guess, but you don't know.
It's not exact, it's
More
bonds.
fixed-
It's
fixed
bonds, yeah.
income, right.
Yeah, it's fixed income, but that, that is required to be recognized as part of our surplus because of just GAAP.
Yeah.
But it's an important point, I think, is that when we put that money aside, that could theoretically turn around, right? So you don't want to spend it or do, so until that is realized, and a piece of it may have been realized already, in the months since year end, but yeah, we have to treat it as surplus and transfer it to debt service, otherwise it goes into fund balance. But it's probably not wise to do anything to spend that money until it becomes realized, so,
That's a question.
yes.
If it's transferred into the debt service, but we can use money out of that debt service.
For pretty much
For
whatever.
Whatever we want to, as long as we.
Yeah, I think it's subject to, it's sort of a parking slot, gets it, by transferring it to debt service, it gets treated as an expenditure in the general fund, so therefore it doesn't go to fund balance. And it sits there in a separate fund where it can be voted on to either, give back to the taxpayers in the form of reduced mill rate or, like I said, we spent it on Penfield Pavilion, we spent it on remediation, et cetera.
But it does beg the question, we were just talking about the schedule for the fund balance and
Yeah.
understanding that a little bit better. If we're putting $3.5 million in there that's unrealized.
Yeah,
We shouldn't touch that. So
No.
when you're putting that debt service schedule together, if you could identify what is effectively
Restricted.
limits, that'd be helpful.
So that should be I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I think that should be the total. I don't think that amount carries over from year to year, because I think the unrealized amount just gets adjusted at year into the.
Correct.
So that you don't have to track that annually. You'll just know that as of June 30th, 2025, the surplus will break out that one line item. Yeah.
And then on the general taxes line, you mentioned that the collection rate was 75 basis points to the good. I think we budgeted over 99%. I think it was like 99 point.
We upped it last year.
did?
Yeah.
Now it's higher.
So we're pretty darn close to 100.
That's correct.
That's hard to,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's one thing you don't wanna, I think we've always tried to be a tad conservative, because you get that wrong, it's not.
Goes another way.
But to be fair, I think the board, I think we've used 5-year running average, but which has resulted in an increase every year. And I think what we've all sort of concluded is that as new people have moved into town who have mortgages, the taxes are paid through escrow. And it's not it's more reliable.
Sure thing.
Well, and I remember looking at that, the comparison to other municipalities, and when we were looking at the budget item for the collection rate. And while we are over 99%, you're still not, like, there are a lot of towns that will budget or experience very close to 100. So we were kind of middle of the pack or maybe below the
Yeah.
median.
Yeah, when we get the presentation from Matt Spurndle every February, I think that's, one of the benchmarks that's in. Okay, any other questions on this item?
Could I just clarify a couple items on this spreadsheet? So the other columns, that's grants that we didn't receive from state level. Correct? The reason for
The negative 121.
number.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so the grants we received were less than what we projected.
Correct.
And then in the other column, under finance, there's a debit of 218.
It was a refund that came in from insurance that was included in revenue. Reimbursement from the insurance company.
Okay, but it's going the opposite
I
direction.
think that's
Oh,
positive.
it's positive.
Positive, yeah. Other questions on this item? Mr. Walsh.
I presume that by being able to do this, the books are closed, right?
The audit is not complete.
Okay. So we're on schedule for the audit.
The audit is scheduled to be done by the end of December. We have some open positions in finance and we're, probably a little bit behind where we would hope to be. But the intent is to meet the year-end deadline.
We have to file the financials with the state by the end of December.
Yeah.
So,
We have to file that ACFR.
act for, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, comments from the public on this item? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the appropriation of revenue surplus referenced in item 11 of the agenda, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thanks, everybody. So we'll move to item 12. To consider and act upon a funding policy for WPCA capital projects. Motion to hear this item. Mr. Pearl, seconded by Mr. Conley. The backup for this item was posted online. The funding policy is on page 70. The WPCA financial plan was posted supplementally as a separate document. So brief background on this item for the benefit of the public, maybe a refresher for the board. So our WPCA, as we all know, has a large number of projects on their 10-year plan. And typically when those projects are funded through borrowing, the bonds are issued by the town of Fairfield, but the debt service is assigned to the WPCA legally through a memorandum of MOU to be paid for from their own service fee revenue. So because of the size and scope of the upcoming projects on the waterfall, we asked management to put together a long-term financial model for the WPCA so that they and we and the commission could understand whether that entity would have the financial capacity to actually absorb the debt service for all these projects over the long term. In addition to that, the debt service policy this board voted on in February requires that the debt assigned to the WPCA, which is not included in the town's debt ratio in our waterfall, must be supported by a financial plan. So we started working on this with the town last October through the Fund Balance and Debt Service Committee, which consists of me, Mr. Curley, and Ms. Ruggiero. And the other piece of the subcommittee's work, aside from the financial plan, was to evaluate a funding policy for the WPCA's capital project. So a set of principles that outlines the extent to which debt service on WPCA projects would be paid for by the WPCA or covered by the town or split between the two sets of taxpayers. And this is important because, again, we have a substantial number of sewer projects in the capital plan, and the funding policy, I think the board has advocated for many years it needed to be based on a fair, consistent set of principles that takes into account the nature and the beneficiaries of those projects. And that funding split also has an impact on the debt ratios that are in our waterfall that this board evaluates when the projects come up for approval. So you may recall this funding policy, the subcommittee voted on it in February, I believe. It came before us in our March meeting, but we tabled to vote at that time because of the questions that came up. The administration didn't want to make any changes to the draft policy without understanding the impact on the waterfall. So after we tabled that in April, our fund balance subcommittee met again. We developed some data requests that our general manager, Michelle Gore, can address tonight. Our subcommittee did not formally meet or vote on this again since April. For practical purposes, there were not material changes put forth by the town, and I thought it would just be easier to just bring it back before the entire board. Plus, I promised Jim that we would vote on it, and this is my last meeting, so I have to keep it. On top of that, but importantly, we have been voting on capital projects since the spring, based on a waterfall that uses this draft funding policy. So, it is important to just put this to bed since our entire waterfall is impacted by it. So that's
I also
just.
agreed that we weren't tied to that because.
Right, we have to vote on it.
We hadn't voted on it.
We hadn't
So-
voted on it, but yeah, just to be clear, the waterfall that we've been looking at for many months was based on this policy. So, you had rightly pointed out, we need to vote on the policy, bring it back. So that's why I
We're gonna
wanted
have to
to.
adjust stuff if we
I
don't.
wanted to do it so that we didn't have to, you know, kind of reopen this again, and, you know, start from scratch. So, so this is here. And what's been provided, so based on our questions and some of our comments and input, some very minor changes were made to the draft we looked at last time. Again, these changes were made to reflect our, you know, the comments we've had. And Ms. Bork take us through those. And she has also, just for reference, provided the long-term financial plan, which is a great piece of work. This is the document that our debt service policy requires, and this is the plan that demonstrates that the WPCA has the financial capacity based on its projections to support the debt service that is intended to be assigned to it based on the projects in the waterfall. So with that background, I would like to turn this over to Michelle for being here. Thanks for, sorry you're last on the agenda.
Okay, W comes last.
It's great to have you back. Appreciate all you have done. And I just want to say, this has been such a long time coming, and this is a really big deal for our capital planning process. So thank you for all the work. And do you want to just walk us through the proposed changes on this?
Thank you for the invitation to do so tonight. I would just like to add that in addition to this being a long-term goal for this board and for the town overall in developing policy, the development of this policy actually supports WPC's compliance with its National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit that's issued by the state of Connecticut that allows us to basically discharge our wastewater to Long Island Sound. So this does support our compliance with the permit and our requirements as a WPC under the general statutes as well. So thank you for this.
Who knew that we were doing more out of compliance before?
Great. So what I'll walk you through are the additions, modifications to the policy that you saw last, I believe, in and those are annotated in the copy of the updated policy you have tonight. I'll walk through the comments that I addressed since March, primarily the comments that were received in April. So I know the first priority really was to better define what is meant by routine versus non-routine projects. And those definitions have been revised here. So if you scroll to the second page of the policy, there's more defined explanation of what routine and non-routine are. And I'm not going to read through these, but if you have questions in regards to these more defined explanations, I'm happy to answer.
So I just have one quick one. So the reason this is important, so if it's a routine capital project, that falls into the category of it's 100% WPCA supported.
That's correct.
Okay. So, and just for the board, anytime a project comes before us for bonding approval, we'll get the details of why it's categorized as whatever anyway, but okay, that's helpful. So so these definitions help flesh out what's considered routine. Okay, thank you.
Was there a category F? I thought there was only 3. So is the project necessary to mitigate risk new? Where it's 0 for the WPCA and the town's 100? I don't remember that one.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And that's new, and that was the point I was going to get to a little bit later, but thank you for bringing that up. That modification was made to address this board's recurring question about the where are we going to place site assessment and remediation at the WPCF? And so there's known PCB contamination at the fill that the facility was built upon. It's contaminated. And who is going to pay for that remediation?
Yeah, so if there's an historical environmental remediation, that would be the town's responsibility. And I think we talked about that, but it just wasn't fleshed out specifically in the policy, so. Thank you. Michelle, any other changes you want to highlight here?
So I'll go on if there's no further questions about routine and non-routine.
I have some. Where's the WPCF facility? Where's that listed? What's that? Did we do with the WPCF facility?
How are we dealing with the
Yeah, like, yeah, what
WPCF
category-
itself?
What category?
It could be under routine or non-routine, depending upon the nature of the project. And so we have definitions of what could be routine and what could be non-routine here. And then we actually have our funding breakdowns which gives examples of projects. And the water pollution control facility itself can fall under non-routine. And we also have projects that could fall under routine as well. So we have basic repairs to our equipment that we routinely need to address. We have specified timeframes where equipment we know needs that would be considered routine. We're planning.
So like, for
we're
example,
planning for
the
that.
digester, right, that hadn't been, we don't know whether that's why it went bad, but it apparently hadn't been maintained. So if we were to say, okay, we need to do something to deal with the digester.
Correct, and that falls under routine.
That would be routine.
And that's actually pulled out specifically. I know that was an example.
Yeah.
That was brought up by this board during the last meeting when we were addressing this. And questions were raised. And that has been specifically identified under projects necessary to address routine upgrades, maintenance, and repairs at the facility. Emergency repairs to WPCF appurtenances inclusive of MEP work, structures associated with unit operation. Because all of those units have defined operation and maintenance requirements that are known that we must follow.
The large WPCF expenditure that we're about to go through. What is that? You seem to be breaking this all into like little pieces. And that's not the way this project was kind of being sold to us. We had to do
Yeah.
a major
That's not
WPCF,
routine.
which we had done. So that's not routine.
That is not routine. And so those are what we're addressing under our upgrades for our facility would actually fall under projects necessary to address non-routine facility retrofits and enhancements. And so those upgrades are being performed, one, to ensure that we're continuing to maintain compliance with increasingly more stringent requirements for our state discharge permit and to meet water quality standards for state of Connecticut. We have units that were designed over 20 years ago, and there's new designs that are available. So that's full redesigns of existing equipment. It's not repairing or replacing equipment in kind, which would be considered.
And I think just, Jim, if you're remembering what I'm remembering, and we may be going back, I don't know what you're thinking of, but a few waterfalls ago, like a couple of years ago when this was presented to us.
Yep.
Back in the day when you and I were both in that working group.
Yep.
That upgrade was presented as like one big massive project, and that has changed, right? That's been chunked out
So
into
we chunked
pieces.
it out
Yeah,
into 3 phases.
yeah. So it's a little
There's
bit.
3 phases of this, of the project though. Right?
Well, I think it's not just 3 phases of the same, yeah.
We have one project. We have high priority, medium priority, and lower priority as our 3 phases.
Are they all non-routine?
And they are all non-routine.
So we're gonna talk about the rest of the report, and then we can talk into, you know, things that, like, I don't agree with, or others don't agree with.
Talk about whatever we want.
Okay,
So right now, the
under the non-routine, I'm having an issue with WPCA paying 75% and the town paying 25%. Because the history of the town and the prior precedent is that the town paid 100%. Now we're going to a 75% WPCA and a 25% town. And what that's doing pursuant to this document, as far as I can read it, correct me if I'm wrong, that the ratepayers who are screaming already with what they just paid in October are going from an average, or whatever the definition, typical residential customer, going from $324 to $513 in 7 years. Based on my calculation, that is an increase of 58.33% during those 7 years, which works out to be an annual increase of 8.33%, which is somewhere near getting close to 2 to 3 times the rate of inflation. And if they're screaming now, they're really gonna. And people should know that, whatever their average bill is, we're basically telling them, we're gonna go up to $513 in 7 years. They are gonna lose their mind.
I mean.
I think that's that much.
It's one, if you're paying in your property taxes
Yeah,
or
it's
your
a
water bill.
difference.
I mean, it's one or the other, like, we have to.
No, I get it.
I mean, and we have to do, so I think I think the question is, I mean, the issue about whether people are gonna lose their minds and how expensive it is, that's the cost of the project, and that's up to the board when the projects come up for a vote, whether you wanna do them or not do them and push them out, but I think that we need to focus on is the allocation, and I know that you had an issue, or question about that last time. When we went back to the subcommittee, we talked about it in a bunch of different ways, and I frankly concluded that I could justify anything. I could justify what's here. I could make a case that it should be 100% the town, 100% the WPCA. We had asked, and Amy might remember this, we'd asked for some data just to try and get an understanding of what percentage of the town is on a sewer, what percentage of the grand list is on a sewer. And Michelle pulled some of that data, and roughly, depending on which metric you look at, I think 75 to 85% of the town is actually, connected to the sewer system somehow. But I think you left it this way because ultimately this is the WPCA's asset. And there should be some allocation. I'm just going off memory. There should be an allocation to the town because all taxpayers, regardless of when you're on the sewer, whether you're on the system, to some degree benefit from the system because it supports our commercial tax base. But, we have roughly a quarter of our taxpayers who are not on the sewer system. So we didn't think, or I guess you had concluded that not 100% should be paid for by the whole taxpayer,
I'd be
right?
happy to pay $500 a month.
This is less than a
A
lot.
year.
A year, as opposed to spending someday $25,000 to replace my septic system. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. All right, Mrs. Claire?
So what I always wanted to see, and I don't think it's ever come our way, which maybe you have, is what the breakdown is between like residential users of the sewer system and like the town schools and public buildings and other types of users, because they all pay into it. So I think it was always the argument that the universities do pay this while they're exempt from other taxes. So there's definitely the argument that they're huge sewer users, they should be paying a chunk of this.
Correct, and so we do have that data, and if this board would like us to produce that data for circulation, we definitely can. It's something that was studied by our utilities management consulting firm Raftellus in performing the recent cost of service. And one of the recommendations that came from Raftellus is to consider a different framework for charging our sewer user fees. And so right now we have a flat fee system. So it doesn't matter who you are, residential, university, commercial, it's one flat fee. It's one flat rate across the board. Many WPCAs choose alternative rate structures. A rate structure that we can consider is a volumetric rate plus a fixed rate based on meter size. And that would really get to commercial, large industry, and universities as well.
There's a solution.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's a great solution. That would help the residential people, without a doubt.
Be a lot
Ms.
easier.
Vitale, with what just happened with the month of October and getting people getting their shoe bills, you hear anybody, from anybody? You hearing any complaints from anybody? I was seeing some complaints online.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was definitely some sticker shock. And I think when the WPCA voted on it, we appreciated the rate increase, but also wanted to smooth it out over time. We had the discussion about next year, as Ms. Gore just shared, revisiting what that rate structure would be based on the data that we had just received. But it was relatively new. We got the report back.
It's nothing we can implement immediately. And so it does require coordination with our with our billing system and the software that the billing system utilizes and program aid and all of that good stuff. So it would be at least a year out, but it is something that the WPCA commission is in favor of. And I believe that there is support internally within town to move forward with an alternate rate structure of that as well.
I just want to make sure that we stay on this point because we're talking about something I think slightly different there. So what this policy is saying, a certain bucket of costs is going to go to the WPCA and a certain bucket of costs is going to go to the town. The rate structure says, now that we have this bucket of costs in the WPCA, how do we divvy this up between different types of rec? And that's not what we're focusing on here.
Yeah.
What this policy deals with is what should go in each bucket. And so I just want to stay focused on that because that's a bigger issue, which I think the primary responsibility for that is with the WPCA, not us. But this is to say, your recommendation has been, and what we've got right now is that for these non-routine plant upgrades and enhancements, that they are 75-25. And then once that 75% bucket is in there, there will be a mechanism then to charge those back to over the long term.
Correct, and there's some considerations for sure when it goes into the 75% bucket. It not based solely on what cross-section of the community is using our system. It's really based on the WPCA's need to provide the continuity of service, regardless of the town's fiscal position at any given point in time, or the shifts that may be occurring within town. WPCA as a utility of the town has that need to ensure its service to its customers. And that's really what it comes down to.
One thing to add, when we were talking through this policy, I think it's good for the WPCA to reflect the actual cost of where the cost is incurred. And if the WPCA doesn't have the money, the money has to come from the town. So by default, that percentage could shift if the WPCA doesn't have the funds. So I think that was.
But that was the point of making sure we had this, was to say,
Exactly, but that percentage, I think it reflects, I was very comfortable with that being the case.
Yeah, but it ain't.
And just to add to what Ms. Ruggiero said, one of the things I know the subcommittee was concerned about and the board was concerned about was let's make sure that when you start putting all this debt service in the WPCA, we don't want to drain the fund balance. Like we don't want to, because the first version of this that we saw, it was a back of the envelope version 3 years ago, I think would have this entity insolvent within 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're like, that, made no sense. Right. So what we said is you need to come up with a plan that not only keeps it solvent, but that will keep a minimum level of fund balance that's appropriate to cover another digester or another whatever. And so.
Unexpected blow up.
Yeah, so I think that, kind of works into the.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
I know, we don't like that word. We're talking about.
Can I just ask, like, when we look at all the projects that are at least looked at this time period, what is the weighted average of cross town versus WPCA? What does it work out to be? When you allocate each one to each of these buckets, you can come to a total and you know how much the town is paying and how much.
If you look at the capital plan in
Yeah, the capital plan actually has that summary.
I think the total expenditure was 140 million and about 40 million of that was paid by the town.
Okay, I mean,
Thank you, Tom.
that seems,
Yeah, we have this
that
here.
seems reasonable.
Okay.
It's like the right number.
Yep. Mr. Walsh.
So if we vote on this as is, Sally, are you gonna tell our taxpayers like where this is gonna go? That we're looking at 15.33% increase over the next 7 years? Because I think they should know. We're now setting course on this. We are setting course on this plan. And they should know that not only do they might not be happy now, but we are looking at 8.33% increases to every typical sewer user going forward.
Well, I think that would be premature though, because I do think to the extent that there's a chance that that these folks come up with an alternate billing cycle, then that wouldn't be.
Then that can be reported too, that, okay, now that's changed.
But I mean, we'll have to vote on the projects.
We could change our
mind.
Yeah, and just.
So I don't agree with
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that.
That's fine. I don't
Yeah.
care whether you agree with it or not. You don't have to apologize. to
But
me.
it's not
You don't have to
logical for her to
apologize
go
me.
out
You
and
can have a
say that we're
different
gonna have it.
opinion.
I'm not gonna, we don't know it's true.
no, and we also, listen, we have
I agree.
$500 million
Fair.
capital.
Yeah.
$500 million, the majority of which is on the town side, and the town's gonna be, the town's got all these debt service, so it's just, and year to year, those debt service costs are gonna be one component of a budget for this entity and for the town that is impacted by a myriad of factors, whether it's inflation, whether it's state money. One of the things that we talked about a lot, I think when Mr. Marsilio was here, that, we haven't even put in the full infrastructure to try to capture federal grants, which may mitigate some of this. So there's all kinds of opportunities there. And I think, it's, I think what we needed, the reason this, again, to repeat myself, that this framework was important is because we didn't want to have a town capital plan that thought we could spend a certain amount of money and just assume that the WPCA could absorb costs that it was never going to be able to absorb.
You're running in the dark.
Yeah, so we were running in the dark. So now we've got the plan, but it's only a plan. It's based on a set of, it's based on numerous assumptions that could change over time. So I don't,
One of the assumptions not gonna change, that the town's only gonna contribute 25%, at least to the building of the.
but we could, their amount could be covered 50% by a federal grant. Like, we just don't know that. So right now with the information that's going forward, we've determined that to the extent that these costs are absorbed by this entity remains solvent, it can absorb these costs. We know what the town can afford, and we need just a working model to go forward with. So that,
We're voting on a 58.3%, at least until we get a
No, we're
grant,
not voting on
until we
that.
get a grant, or until we get something else. Then
Voting on a policy.
What I was gonna say is, I think that this 58% is very premature to say that, because there's a lot of things that we don't know can happen here. The primary thing is timing. And we're gonna have to go through a process no different than anything else, but we have to vote on those things. So it's gonna come before this board anyway. At that point, we can make a decision. I have no concern with this split, considering that we want to keep the cost where it can. If the WPCA thinks they can fund it, by all means, they should, in my opinion. And the fact that the town has to bail it out if it was to become insolvent moves the cost. So to go out and scare taxpayers that they're gonna have an 8% increase is completely creating a fear that is not justified.
yeah,
But to hide behind
It's not-
what we're doing is also
It's
not
hiding.
justified.
I don't view it
And
as
that's what-
hiding.
And that's what we're doing.
I don't view it
When
as
the
hiding.
WPCA set the rates, was publicly noticed, it was in the paper,
Yeah.
this information was shared to get to this year's rate. In addition, as this board knows, we had increased costs because of the sludge management, the change in the way that we're dealing with that led to an increase. We had, the WPCA had the discussion about changing the funding structure in the future in terms of universities, commercial bases. That's for the year ahead. As Ms. Gore shared, there's some things that need to be put in place in order for that to happen. Tonight, we were just voting on a policy. The projects are allocated in the waterfall based on the assumptions made in this policy. I appreciate this board has not voted on it. The WPCA, for the most part, voted on the bulk of this policy back in February. And we move forward, the WPCA, in planning based on these assumptions. As I think Ms. Charlton and Ms. Ruggiero said, this is going to change. If these projects come up, capital projects, and other town bodies don't vote for it, then we'll have to make adjustments and it'll go back to the WPCA.
But the problem is, every time we vote on something, there's the price of doing that, and then there's the price of not doing that. But one thing's not gonna change. It's gonna say 75% is paid by the WPCA, which is gonna take out additional loans, which is gonna add to the users, causing an 8.33% increase and drive this price. That's what's not gonna change. When this thing comes before us, we're not gonna be voting on like, oh, you know what? I think at that point, on this item, the town should fund 50% of it. We're not gonna be voting on that.
And that's what we didn't want to do. We didn't want it to play games. We wanted it to be a consistent framework. But Jim, again, I'll just maybe push back a little bit because again, the 8%, this rate structure study could result in that 8% going to 3% for a resident or 4%. Like, we don't know that yet. So I think the thing to focus on is the allocation percentage reasonable? The 75-25, that's all we're doing. The impact of this on projects, I mean, I don't know, having been on this board for whatever, 6 years, even 2 years ago, we looked at that waterfall and there wasn't a shot in hell that we could have afforded Dwight School at that time because we had bad data. And since then, a million assumptions have changed, right? The models were refined. The town did a really good job, like working through the cash flows and all the things that we provided guidance on, you know, and it turned out that our waterfall changed a lot. And I just think that, you know, this is fluid. It's going to happen again. This rate study was necessary. We may decide to charge, you know, more fees for other things, even when, you know, you have new apartment buildings come online or whatever. So I think there's all kinds of things that could change, but I just wanted to focus on, you know, here we're just focusing on the allocation percentage. I don't think we can take this to the bank that, you know, that sewer rates are going to go up by X amount every year for the next 5 years.
Can I just ask?
Yep.
I just ask Ms. Gore's opinion. Would you say that for however long we maybe have had our eye on this, that perhaps the sewer payers were undercharged?
In my educated opinion, I would say yes. When you compare us to similar utilities in towns similar to us, our demographics, our rates are at the lower middle tier. See, this is for the state of Connecticut.
If you look back at what we looked at 2 years ago, where it showed that the WPCA was gonna be insolvent in 5 years, they had all this deferred maintenance and project work that they weren't charging enough to build up to pay for this stuff.
I feel that needs to be the message. I feel like, I mean, nobody wants to hear that. I should have been charged more, so I'm paying for it now, but because it's
That's
sort of
the
like, well,
reality.
it's not fair because all those other people who are gone now aren't paying for it now. And how long is it gonna take for me to catch up? Because on this, it's a long time. I mean, I was kind of hoping it was gonna go up to catch up and then flatten again. It's not, and clearly this rate structure could do that, but
Where's it going after 2032? Still going up?
Who knows?
When you look at this, where we're at right now, it starts to go down.
What?
After 2032. So our capital plan is front loaded right now, and especially in these early years, we have multiple large projects occurring in parallel. Which is why you'll see such a high in the early years, and then it decreases over the next.
Because some of the big items just have been deferred for, I mean, at least, I mean, I saw probably 15 years old, a study that was done where all the same stuff was recommended.
2018 facilities plan that's based on a evaluation of our facility, so we're going on 10 years of deference.
Just 2 points to bring up Matola's point. Among in Lower Greenfield Hill on Greenfield Hill Road and I know we have a little disagreement because I'm not on sewer, I'm on septic. But I would happily be delighted to be paying for that and having a septic on the flip side.
Lots of houses for sale.
To pay for sewer.
Absolutely. All you gotta do is run that thing right up from Duck Farm. I'm not that far up it. So if you want to consider that, I'm happily gonna.
First Street, take a.
I would even fund some of the building.
Is that 100% town or is that?
No, actually, when that sort of thing is done, there is a sewer assessment that goes to the houses that are hooked up.
I would happily pay it.
And on top of the
I've asked this question before when that John was here. The other thing just to bring up is what we're trying to accomplish tonight is to vote on a policy that three of us, and you participated in one of those meetings.
The numbers that are being discussed at the.
Worked very hard on, and if you don't agree with the numbers, vote no.
Well, I plan on it.
I know. But the rest of us are gonna vote yes. But let's just vote.
Yeah, that's what I plan on doing.
Honestly,
I'm ready to
because
vote.
that clock is an hour off and I've been thinking, holy crap, we spent a lot of time
It's not as
recognizing
bad.
people.
It's not as bad as.
Donnie could have
switched the
No,
We could talk more about low flow toilets too.
I love potty talk. I could go all night on that, but this, I think we beat this to death. We've had this on the table. You're here tonight, you're leaving. We've all worked on this very hard. We haven't had anything. It meets several objectives, as you said at the very beginning, with some words I don't even understand. But I think that we're ready to vote on this thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I would
Amy,
just,
I agree that you three have worked, and I'm not saying that you haven't worked hard on it. I think you have. But there's 6 people here at the table that have not seen it tonight.
No, there's not that many changes.
April, May.
There's not that many
I just-
changes. We did see this.
and I just wanna emphasize, that again, every future project will come before this board, accompanied by an MOU, which will have a funding percentage in it. So if for some reason, something changes and, you know, the future iteration or iterations of this board decide that something should be in a different category or that policy should be changed, it can always be changed. I mean, we refreshed a bunch of other policies this year too, but we have been, you know, voting on this basis. We voted on a couple of big projects already this past year on the 50-50 category. So, you know, this was just, and I think this was important to you, Jim. I know it was all of us, that we didn't want, you know, kind of the tail wagging the dog on this stuff. We wanted to have a policy and not be making those funding decisions based on what was politically expedient at the time, because that's the kind of thing that led to all these projects getting deferred and not getting done. We were trying to keep the waterfall in a certain place, because stuff got pushed off. And, you know, I think having a
Well, I
policy.
mean, there's a lot of that has to do with WPCA's not taking responsibility and not doing their job. That's exactly what it was then. In the past. No, in the past.
In the past, but
Who didn't want to put money away for it, knowing things were coming down the line.
and putting money away involves, you know, making those
rates.
rates payers
Yeah,
angry.
raising
And you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
We're in great shape. I left
you
it.
can if, unless, you know, any other.
I don't know.
Mary has.
I don't really care.
So,
As long-
we're
as
getting
long as-
steam out the
as long as
ears, man. It's like a
58.3
facial.
is not around my neck, so you're on.
I just want to say, I'm very grateful to have a policy because these numbers have been debated for the last 24 years. And, you know, they've swung around depending who the first selectman was and what their opinion on the thing was. And so it's nice to have a policy, put something in here if we want that says it will be reviewed in 3 years and we can make adjustments as needed, but at least we have a plan. That's.
Other comments on this?
Vote. I'm gonna be voting against it.
Okay.
I wanna put it on
No,
record.
really?
I think it's irresponsible that we're going from 100% funding town to pay for the WPCF in the past to now going to only 25% funding. I thought at worst it would be 50-50. And I think it's irresponsible. And I think it's gonna drive the fees up. I've said my piece, but I'm gonna be voting no for those reasons.
Thank you. All right, I just want to, are there any comments from the public to vote on this? I see none. Okay, so we can vote then. All in favor of approving the funding policy set forth in item 12, please raise your hand. Opposed, abstentions, okay, 1 hour. All right, the motion passes 8-1. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you on behalf of the, thank you to the committee. Thank you to Ms. Ruggiero. Thank you, Mr. Curley. Appreciate all your work. Thank you to Ms. Gore,
Yeah.
who we are
Great work.
so happy you're here.
Thank you for pushing on this.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate it. All right. So the next item is item 13, to consider and act upon the minutes of September 16th, September 25th, and October 6th, 2025. I'm sorry, and October 7th, 2025. We'll vote on some of these separately, but motion to hear this item. Ms. Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Matola. The draft minutes are posted online beginning on page 78. And since we had various members absent from some of these meetings, we'll take votes separately in minutes. So the first set is the meeting of September 16th. Mr. Myers was absent on that one. Do we have any comments on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the draft minutes from September 16th, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Jim, did you vote yes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, so those minutes are approved, 801 with Mr. Myers abstaining. Okay, the meeting, what's that?
Yeah, I think Shane was out.
Okay, was out, okay, so make that 701. Mr. Henley left the room and Mr. Myers was absent from the meeting. Okay, so the minutes of September 25th, I believe this was our capital projects meeting. Mr. Curley and Ms. Singer were absent. Are there any comments on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the draft minutes of September 25th, please raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Matola, Ms. Charlton, Mr. Stark, Mr. Myers, Ms. Ruggiero, opposed, abstained, Ms. Leclerc, and Mr. Curley. Okay, so those
0-2.
pass 6-0-2. Right, with
Yep.
Mr. Henley. not
It's 1.
Well, he's not it. Doesn't count.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's, yeah. So the October 6th special meeting, I think that was the one where we had just the presentation. I believe, were we all there? I believe we were all there on that one. Okay. Any comments on those minutes? We're on the October 6th. That was the Dwight meeting, the minutes. Any comments on those? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the October 6th special meeting? Okay, those are unanimous. And then the October 7th meeting, this was the Dwight vote. Mr. Stark was absent. Any comments on those? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from October 7th, please raise your hand. Opposed, abstentions? Stark, okay, and those minutes are approved, 801. Okay, item 14, here consider and act upon any communications. Do you have anything, Ms. Vitale?
David, I was late. I was at fire promotion ceremony. I just wanted, Ms. Charlton, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Ms. Cole, thank you for your leadership on this board. We are going to miss your expertise, your grace, your good humor, and I'm going to tap you both for something else. But thank you.
So I have questions in regards to a couple of different communications.
Yes.
One is your October 14th communication to our board in regards to providing 2 documents, things that I had asked for in the previous meeting. One was a fire department vehicle purchase, Munis GL account charge chart that we got, that you sent us, something that looks like that.
Okay.
You sent that on your October 14th communication, which I have.
I'm gonna have to dig it out. Okay.
Yep, and then in the same email, you sent the whole board based on something else, this employees with 24-hour take-home use of town
Right.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, so on both of them. It's not really for this meeting. We're gonna need another meeting, so I'm just more raising the point. But there is significant trouble with this document. So for example, we have fire department cars. I would like to see. You ready, Tom, to write this down? I would like to see the bid document of what the requisition was supposed to be for, and I want to see every sticker for each of the cars, see what the difference between the bid and the car was. There's also upfitting that's done. I don't know if you guys looked at that, but there's upfitting done that is split between two different areas on most of these cars. So what caught my eye was upfitting, $10,000. Like, how's that like a nice round number? That's like the upfitting just $10,000 on multiple cars. But then I see like another number, like on some of these, it's 10,000 plus 5,143.74. So let's talk about the $10,000. That's charged to maintenance and repair automotive. Who the hell puts an upfitting, which is really a capital expense, in maintenance and repair? And I would like to know, is that routinely being done by the fire department? Because maintenance and repair is oil changes, it's maintenance on the car. It is not $15,000 per vehicle that goes in there, because that means that for, I don't know how many years, we've been misbudgeting and misexpensing charges. So first, I'm gonna ask, I would like that account be audited by our internal auditor for as long as it takes her to see how far this goes back. And two, I would like the fire department, I don't think it's right to talk without them being present so they could say why they did this. Why they're charging maintenance and repair for $10,000 worth of upfitting on like all of these cars.
Okay,
And
what
then- and then-
this
and then the last
information was for Ms. Saxel, right? So maybe,
It came from you.
right, but I forwarded for Ms. I didn't
Okay,
put it together,
okay,
obviously,
yep.
yeah. So, and I think Ms. Saxel, some of this she might have dug up in response to our questions, and some of it may just have been from her work papers in the
Okay.
audit. So maybe ask Connie to, see,
Okay, the other thing is that I see stuff coming out of a capital outlay, fire outside services, which I didn't know that we had a separate outside services account for the fire department. I knew about the one for the police, that we purchased the police cars out of.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to get a full accounting on what's in that account, when the monies came in, and what is spent out of that account and by who. And then on all of these cars, if there's any pink vouchers that have been issued, I would like to see a copy of the pink vouchers. And I'd like to see who signed off on them. Because this money should not have been, Connie's report clearly said, money should not have been expended this way. We went over the requisition amount, the bid amount. So there's so many questions here, like I never knew. I don't know if anybody else here knew, when we were talking about ARPA cars, buying vehicles for ARPA,
the electric cars.
the electric cars, it was always about town hall. We were gonna replace the town hall fleet. We were putting in charging devices for the town hall fleet. They used money out of that ARPA account to buy fire vehicles.
Yeah, electric fire vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't talked about. It was not discussed at all. No police, no fire. It was the replacement of the fleet at town hall. And I want to know how that was done. And who gave them permission to do it?
Okay, I'll
It's
leave.
raised so many issues.
Yeah, I mean, that was going back to, that's going back,
6, 7.
no, not 6 years ago, but that's going back probably 4 or 5 years ago, right? Or bust
These are cars that are that are 2024 cars. So this is all news.
Yeah.
Like, who allowed them to purchase cars when what we approved was the town hall fleet? Had all sorts of discussions about how that needed to be done and all those old cars needed to be replaced. How are we doing all these cars now with the fire department? We're throwing them extra money for.
No, we reallocated ARPA money, I think, to cover some of those, as I recall, I mean, we reallocated,
See, that's the weird thing, Lori. You're right. We reallocated.
we reallocated ARPA money like a dozen times.
Fire vehicle replacement money. That's where one of them is done. If you look at this list of where it's coming from, it's not just fire vehicle replacement. It's money that comes out of ARPA, electric hybrid vehicles. That's the town vehicles that we were supposed to be replacing. How the hell did that now get put onto the fire department?
No, all I'm saying is that, and I don't want to get bogged down in this because we'll get the answers to your questions. Somebody else will, not me, but that ARPA schedule, I feel like we reallocated that a dozen times and I could be wrong, but I swear I remember we had, and not too far in the distant past, we reallocated some excess money to purchases. And so we'll figure it out. So, okay.
So I think we're gonna have to have a meeting about this, and I think the fire department.
Don't look at me.
That's what I'm just saying. My Democratic friends and colleagues on the other side, somebody's gonna be chairman. I think we need to set this thing down for a meeting. I just wanted to bring it up because I find this document, if you go through all the different charges, very troubling the way. It was like someone piecemealed, oh, let's take this money out of here. Let's find this money out of here. I mean, some of these things have four different groups of money that are coming to pay for a vehicle. That's not supposed to be happening.
So I think since Connie put that together, I think she has the details. She could probably shed some light.
Happy to provide that.
Absolutely. After, and just for what it's worth, I do agree. I think part of, and I've seen this happen my whole life in every organization, sometimes if you're short money here and you take it from this budget line item, and the problem with doing that is that, when we are reviewing budgets and passing them, we're relying on that prior year information. So if you're misclassifying things in line items, we can't do the right job budgeting. So I hear you.
There's $40,000 or $50,000 upfitting money coming out of repair and maintenance. That's
Listen,
not right. That means I'm gonna cut that.
I never understood the full scope of upfitting charges in general. So, I'm sure that this will be a big topic in the budget and this should be looked at before the budget so that everybody's not, bogged down in those meetings and that we make sure that, not only does everybody understand the budget, but they understand when you guys are approving that budget, what the appropriate prior year comparisons are.
And the other communication was my communication to this board today in regards to, I don't think we're getting everything we're asking.
And
So-
Tom's working on that, I believe.
So you have a list after every meeting.
I do.
Okay. Can I get a copy from each meeting? You check off which ones you think you've supplied us,
I will.
and then which ones you have not, and an estimation on when we can have those documents. 'Cause like months are going by.
I don't believe there's anything that goes back months ago, but we'll put together the list.
From September 1st. I put in my thing from September 1st. Okay.
All right.
I almost think that set something out the day after the meeting and say, does anybody have anything else they asked for last night? So that we're all on, so that we're all on the same page.
That'd be a good idea.
We should. I will say that is,
We did that with Dwight. It was very helpful.
we did. And that the role, part of the role of our clerk is to do that. And so I think that's reasonable. Anything else? Well, there's only one item left, item 15, motion to adjourn. Peace out. Bury me. Okay. All right, thanks, everyone.
Congratulations.
Right.